I'm excited for the next couple of days. You guys have no idea what you are about to experience, but I know exactly what you're going to experience, and this is something that can radically transform and shift your life forever, and I'm excited for you guys to experience it. It's one of those things, I remember when one of the first times I met Tony Robbins, he shared a concept with me called the decade in a day. He says, so crazy you can go and you can take an author or someone who spent a decade of their life learning and mastering, understanding a process, and you can go grab their book about them teaching it, you can read it in a day, and you compress an entire decade into a day. Now, what we're going to be doing over the next 3 days is literally that. I've spent 20 plus years now learning and mastering the art that I'm going to be teaching us over the next 3 days. Okay, so we're compressing down 2 decades into 3 different days. Now, if you guys want to get all the information from that, you've got to be paying attention. Also, here in the chat, I want you guys playing back and forth with me because, again, I'm a very visual person. In fact, some of you guys know, if you know me, you know my number one love language is physical touch. So if you could give me a hug, that would be the best. But since we can't, because that's weird if I was to try to hug a wall, if you guys can give me words of affirmation as we're going, either here or in the chat group or hangoutwithrussell.com, both places. The more listings I see, the more excited I'll be and the more I'll be able to feed off of that energy and have some fun. So in the chat, let me know if you guys are excited. That way I can feel it, I can see it as we're going through this, okay? All right, so a couple things. Number one thing I want to make sure you guys know is that throughout this event, we have, Chris kind of mentioned before, if you go to hangoutwithrussell.com, it'll redirect you over to a group we have where all of us are hanging out together, okay? People have been through this event in the past. You guys here that are with us today, and this is kind of this really cool group and community of people who are all serving each other, helping each other. And what we're doing is that when you go to hangoutwithrussell.com, every single session, we're going to take a new, we'll start a new comment thread over here. We're going to pin it to the top of the group, and then I want all you guys in real time going and posting things as fast as you can. Now, the very first time we ever did this event, I didn't think anyone would ever be able to beat it. They were getting between 1,500 and 2,000 comments per session, okay? Do you guys think you can beat them? Are you better than, I just want to see if you guys feel like you're better, okay? If you are, I need your help. So I'm going to pull up here on the background. So when you go to hangoutwithrussell.com, it'll take you over to a page that looks kind of like this. And the very top here says session number 1, subconscious success. That's what we're talking about. So go here, open it up in a separate browser window, and then basically have it open. And so while you're watching me talking, we're hanging out here in Zoom, wherever you're watching me at, then over here on the other side, comment here as much as you can. And the biggest thing to post over here inside of the group is anytime you have an aha, like the aha should be dropped in the session right here. And that's what's going to be happening, okay? So any ahas, any ideas, any insights you get, drop in there as fast as you can. And I use that because what happens is between the breaks, I go through, I read all those, and I come and adjust the content based on what you guys are telling me you need, with the things you like, the things you don't like, the things you have questions on. And so that's going to be kind of how we're working back and forth on that, okay? All right, so before I start any event or any process, where I'm trying to create something new for people, right? If I'm writing a book or doing an event, or if I'm doing a webinar or a challenge or whatever it is, the very first question I try to ask is, what is the big result that I'm promising somebody if they're going to spend time with me, right? And obviously you guys all spent time. You spent money to be here, but more importantly, you spent time. And I don't want to waste anybody's time, mine or yours. And so I was going through, I'm like, what's the big result that I'm going to promise people to get when they come through this process? Okay, so the question I'm asking you now is, what's the big result you're going to get from this selling online event, right? And all you guys have a different reason. In fact, I'm curious, what is the reason that you guys signed up for this? Put in the chat, the reason why you signed up for this event, right? You all came here for different reasons, different purposes, right? And so what is the reason you came here? Was it because you wanted, you have a message you want to get out to the world? Do you have a product you're trying to start out online and you're struggling? You want to figure out how to sell to the masses? What is the big result that you are hoping to get from this event? Post them over here. I'm seeing them coming already. Some of you guys, we want to join your community. You want to sell your new invention. You want to quit your day job. Some of you guys want to fire your boss. I understand that. It's going to help more people have more impact. Okay, cool. So these, that's awesome. So when I was putting this together, I was like, what's the big result I want to promise people, okay? Now, obviously, there's a lot of small results. So you're going to learn how to sell online, you're going to learn how to drive traffic, you're going to learn how to build a funnel, all those cool things, right? But the number one thing that you're going to learn in the next 3 days is how to master what we call one-to-many selling. Okay, where there's one of you and many people, and you do one presentation, and you sell a whole bunch of people at once. Okay, now, this picture here you can see in the image. This is me speaking at Grant Cardone's 10X event, and if you look at that, it's kind of crazy. There's little old me, one Russell. I'm speaking to 9,000 people in this audience, one to many, and I made a presentation, and I had a chance to sell something to those people. And if you do it correctly, people will run to the back, and they'll give you a bunch of money. Right? That's the one-to-many presentation. Now, some of you guys, in fact, I'm curious, how many of you guys want to be on stages? Someday, Russell, I want to be on your stage doing a presentation. Right? If you're someone who wants to be on stage, just post in the comments I want to be on stage. Okay, now, yes, you guys yes, something I know I'm scared. Now, it's interesting for me, when I got started, I did not want to be on stage. I'm very introverted. The last thing in the world I want to be on stage, I want to be behind a computer selling stuff, like an internet nerd. That's what I was, right? That's what I wanted to be doing. And so the nice thing about this is the thing I'm going to teach you guys will teach you if you want to speak on stage one to many people and sell, we're going to teach you the skill set to do that. But number two, This also works when you're working on using sales funnels. You take your one-to-many presentation, you plug it into a sales funnel. It could be a webinar funnel, a challenge funnel, a live event funnel, whatever it is. But when you learn the process and the skills you'll be learning over the next 3 days, you can plug that into a funnel as well. And that way you can do it on stage or you can do it online. Either way works as soon as you learn and understand and master the process, which you guys are going to become masters at before the next 3 days is over, which I'm so excited for, okay? Now, before you get started, I mentioned this earlier, but I am an extreme introvert, okay? I'm saying this, a lot of people see me on stage like, well, of course, Russell, you can do it because look, you're charismatic. You know how to do these kind of things. Like, no. And I'm going to show you guys some clips here in a little bit, but I'm introverted, right? When I went to my very first internet marketing event, I remember getting there, and I had my laptop in my backpack, and I was sitting down to take notes. Like, I had no idea that this whole world even existed, right? In fact, I found some screenshots. This is the very first internet marketing event I went to, man, back over 20 years ago, which is kind of crazy. Here's the event. There's a picture of me with my shaved head and my glasses, the people I met at the event. And so this is the very first event I ever went to, right? And I remember going to this event, and I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what happens at an event, right? So I go to the event, I'm sitting in the front row with my laptop. The first speaker gets up, I'm taking notes, what they're saying as fast as I can. I still remember this day. The guy's name is Mike Littman. Mike Littman's on stage, he's talking, he speaks for about an hour or so, and after that he starts transitioning. I didn't realize at the time, but like he starts kind of transitioning. He starts talking about this offer and the thing he was selling. I was like, what is happening? He goes through the whole thing. All of a sudden, he like tells everyone to run to the back of the room and sign up. And I'm sitting there again on my laptop with my glasses and my shaved head. And I'm just like, what is happening? So confused, right? And I see people start jumping up and running to the back of the room. And they're running to the back of the room and they're throwing their credit cards over that thing and they're getting all excited. And I was like, what is happening? I'm so confused. And he just sold a $2,000 offer. I remember looking in the back of the room and I saw the people. I remember counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And I figured out by the time that he was done, it was like he made $68,000 in 90 minutes, okay? Now for me, first off, just to put it in perspective, to that point, I had yet to make $68,000 my entire marketing career. And I saw a dude do it in 90 minutes. But I was so confused, like, what is happening? I did not register, I was just kind of confused. Next speaker comes on stage, he gets up there, he does a presentation for about an hour, then he transitions to sell again. I'm like, wait, what is he doing? I'm like, does the guy who's running the event, does he know that this guy's trying to sell? Like, I was so confused. I didn't understand the business at all. He gets on stage, he starts selling his offer, and he's selling a $5,000 offer. And all of a sudden, same thing, people start running to the back. And I started doing the math again, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And I remember that he got over $100,000. I remember in my head, because like my goal someday was make 6 figures in a year. That was like my goal at the time. And this dude made over 6 figures from one 90-minute presentation. Blew my mind. And that's what happened again and again and again for 3 days. Each speaker would get on stage, give a presentation, make an offer, people run the back, and watch it kept happening. And I was like, what? Like, this is the craziest thing in the world. And then the very last day, the guy got on stage, his name is John Childers, and John was a public speaking coach. Not public speaking like, here's how to speak correctly. Like, teach people how to speak and sell from stage, how to do one-to-many sales presentations. And he got up the very first and said, does anyone here realize what's been happening over the last 3 days? And I'm like, yeah. Like, this was not what I was expecting at all, right? He's like, this is the world of speaking. This is how it works. And he explained the business model, right? And showed how it all worked. And it's talked about how you know, a promoter brings you to an event, you have a chance to speak, you sell, you split the money 50-50 with the promoter, and that's how it works. And so, you know, and I'm just like going crazy. I can't even imagine like how cool this whole thing is. And then what's crazy is then John, he offers a $20,000 speaker package, $20,000. And people are jumping up and running to the back. I was like, okay. I remember sitting here thinking this, and the thing went through my head was like, I have to learn this skill set. If a human being like me, who puts his pants on the same way, who gets ready in the morning the same way, can stand on stage and in 90 minutes make 6 figures, which was my yearly goal at the time, like I have to do whatever it takes to figure this out. Right? I don't care, like, whatever it takes, if I have to go to school, if I have to study, like, if I have to go hire these people, I have to work for them, like, I have to learn the skill set, okay? And that was kind of how this whole journey started for me. Now, I remember a little while later, I went to my very first event. Maybe I'll show you guys some footage of it, but I didn't know what to do. I got on stage, and I tried to sell, and it just bombed. In fact, I remember to this day how painful it was. I did my presentation like other people do, and I remember I'd seen other speakers do it, you know, at this point, so I was like, I know how to do it, and I think they're doing it all wrong. So I remember I was doing my presentation, and I remember when I transitioned to the pitch, I was like, I'm not gonna insult you like the other speakers. This is where I sell, and that's the price point. And then nobody moved. Nobody bought. It was the most embarrassing thing, definitely of my entire life. Like looking back on all the things, that was the worst one. I remember I got off stage, nobody bought. People come to me, that was a great presentation, Russell. And I was like so embarrassed. I remember running up to my hotel room and Because usually what happens backstage, all the speakers are back there hanging out and they're like, how many did you sell? How many did you sell? And everyone's talking about it. And I did not want them to know that I sold 0. And so I ran to my room and I hid there for 3 days during the event. I still remember, because I remember I'd never ordered room service yet. This is my first time ordering room service, but I didn't want to leave my room. So I ordered a Haagen-Dazs ice cream and coconut shrimp 3 meals a day for 3 days. And that's what I lived on. And so I was so embarrassed to leave, right? And so that was my very first time speaking. I was like, I'll never do this again. And then I went to another event. I saw someone else doing it, I'm like, I have to learn this skill. I have to figure this out. If they can do it, I got to figure this out. And so I started like finding people who were successful. My first mentor, Dan Kennedy, I bought a course from him, went to other things. I started learning how people were speaking from stage and how they were selling, how to tweak your presentation, how to structure it the right way, how to structure how you present the offer, all these things, right? A lot of stuff you'll be learning over the next 3 days. And from there, after studying really, really hard, I went to my next event. I did a presentation, and this time I made a $1,000 offer and 6 people bought. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I figured it out. How do I do this again? And what happened for the next 5 or 6 years of my life, I started going to an event 2 to 3 times a month. I would fly to an event and they would ask me to speak, right? So I'd come to speak, but I'd watch all the other speakers speak. I'm like, what are they doing? How are they doing? I take notes on what they were doing. I would go back to my presentation and make tweaks and changes until my presentation got better and better and better, okay? Now, what's crazy, if you look at how events used to be, this is, man, I don't even know, 10, 15 years ago, when I'd go to an event, I'd have promoters who were like, yeah, there's gonna be 5,000, or there'll be 500 people in the room. So I'd show up, and again, as a speaker, I don't get paid to speak, right? I show up and I get paid from what I sell. So I show up this room, and there's supposed to be 500 people in the room, there'd be 30 people in the room. And 9 of them were the other speakers. So there's 9 of us and me. So there's 10 people. We're competing over those other 20 people. And like someone's going to leave and they're going to make money, and everyone else is going to go home and they didn't even cover the cost of their trip. And so that's where I learned how to speak. As I go to these events, I'm like, okay, there's 20 people, there's 10 of us. Someone's going to get all the money. How do I make my presentation so much better that they don't buy anybody else's and they only buy mine? That's how I learned. It was very cutthroat, but because of that, I got really, really, really good. Okay, and so I would go to event after event after event, and I got so good at the skill set that I could go to an event. I would know. I'd walk in a room. It could be 300 people, 500 people. I would know to a T, like based on how many people in the room, how much money I was walking out with that day. Okay, because there's a science behind this. And so you guys are going to learn the science over the next 3 days, but there's also an art that makes it yours. So you're not just going to be like becoming Russell Brunson's and acting like me. That's not the goal, right? The goal is to give you the science. Here's the exact frameworks and formulas that work to make this be successful. And then you weave in you and your personality, your art into it. When you have those 2 pieces together, it creates something that's so magical that you can get people to move, to buy your products so you can change their lives. And that's what's so cool, okay? And so I did that for, again, a long time, going to events, learning, becoming better and better at it. What I would do is every time I would take my presentation, I'd go to the next event and I would make a copy of it and make my tweaks, and I'd do that presentation again. And sometimes it would convert higher or lower, right? And I would learn from that. I'd make another one. I did that for 10 years until I got a spot where I had what I created, which I called the perfect webinar. You guys may have heard me talk about this before. The perfect webinar, because it was perfect, right? And then anytime I had a new product or my service, I would just take the structure of it, I would weave my new product, my new stories, I would launch it, and it just worked consistently, time after time after time. Now, I want to fast forward a couple years later when I had a chance to work on a company that we were creating called ClickFunnels. In fact, here is the picture. This is our office when we first launched ClickFunnels. Like, it was not this big VC-backed company with millions of dollars investing. It was me, there's Todd Dickerson, Dylan Jones, a couple of us in a little tiny room, because that's all we could afford at the time, and we were building out this idea for ClickFunnels, right? And when we launched ClickFunnels, it was kind of the end. We had a business that was there that kind of fallen apart. And so we were this small, scrappy group of 5 or 6 of us left over. And we're trying to figure out, what's our next idea? What's the next opportunity? Like, what should we create, right? And we had the idea for ClickFunnels. Todd and Dylan, who were my technical co-founders, they started building the software. And then my job was to go out and figure out how to sell this, right? Now, to put this in perspective, at the time, there were 2 big companies we were competing against, right? One of them had just gotten $38 million in funding, and the second one had just gotten $127.9 million in funding, okay? Guess how much funding I had? $0. That's not true. I had a Visa MasterCard, so maybe I had $2,000 credit limit on it, so we had $2,000 of funding. Like, that's all we had, right? And so we go, Todd and Dylan go, and they build ClickFunnels. I come out there, and I was just to sell it, so I remember building a funnel, and we launched it. I was like, the world's going to be changed. We're going to make so much money. We did the very first launch, and nobody bought. That's not true. We had a few people buy, but it was not very many. And I'm like, okay, the funnel's wrong, so I created a whole different presentation. We created that one. We launched it. Didn't work. Third one didn't work. Fourth, fifth. On the 6th try, I was like almost on my wit's end. I'm like, this isn't going to work. No one's going to buy ClickFunnels. This is just like, we spend a lot of time, energy, money on this, but it's just not going to work. And I was almost to the point where I was going to give up. And one of my friends called me up. He's like, hey, Russell, I'm doing an event. There should be about 500 people in the room. Do you want to come and speak and sell ClickFunnels at it? I was like, I would love to, but nobody's buying ClickFunnels. He's like, well, just come and speak and just make an offer. I'm like, right now we have a free trial on the homepage and nobody's taking it. He's like, well, make a $1,000 version and then come to the thing. You have a chance to speak, teach people funnels, and we'll split the money 50-50. I was like, okay, fine. And so I remember sitting down, I took my perfect webinar framework, right? I said, okay, how do I make a presentation to sell ClickFunnels? I started going in and you guys will learn you'll master the process by the time the 3 days are over, but what's the origin story? What's the vehicle? What's secret one, secret two, secret? And I just built the slides, followed the exact same process that you guys are gonna be learning the next 3 days. I flew out to this event and check this out. This is a screenshot from the actual event. I came there, I flew in there. He said 500, there were about 300 in the room. I went and did my presentation. Again, my very first time selling ClickFunnels, did this one-to-many presentation. At the end, I told people to run the back and buy. And what happened was crazy. What happened was a thing they call a table rush. Now, I had sold stuff before in the past, but I'd never actually had a real table rush. Now, table rush, what it looks like is people jumping over the tables, throwing credit cards. Like, you think like, yeah, no one's going to throw a credit card. They were literally throwing credit cards. They wanted to get in the top 10. People were jumping over, like whoever, throwing credit cards, fighting each other. Like someone got trampled in the aisle. Like it was crazy. And I'm on there still, I was like in my presentation doing the close, people were running to the back. And I was like, holy cow, like it caught me off guard. I was like, look at these guys, like they're going crazy. And everyone looked back and they started jumping up and they started running. And it was insane, right? People went back, they bought ClickFunnels like crazy. And I remember after I got done, we had this huge stack of order forms. And I remember that night we went out to dinner with me, Todd, and Dylan, and we're sitting there talking. And it's crazy because we spent like 2 years building ClickFunnels. And so far we'd made, I don't know, 20, 30 grand total so far, right? With all of our efforts, all the work, all of everything. And when that was done, I think we closed like 60-something% of the room. And so those are all order forms people came back to us with. And at dinner that night with Dylan and Todd, I remember telling them, I was like, do you guys understand what just happened? They're like, yeah, we finally made some money with ClickFunnels. I was like, no, like I know now how to sell ClickFunnels. Like, we're just gonna take this one presentation and I'm gonna take it, we're gonna put it into a webinar. I'm gonna do webinar after webinar and we're gonna be rich. And they kind of smiled and they were excited, but I was like, no, you guys don't understand like what just happened. And so what happened next is I took that presentation, the one-to-many presentation I created, I did on a stage just like this, right? I took it, I plugged it into a sales funnel. This is the original landing page for the sales funnel, my weird niche funnel. Anyway, we took it, we launched this webinar, and what's crazy is this is how we launched and grew ClickFunnels. We went from $0 to $100 million in 3 years, which is one of the fastest growing SaaS startups of all time, without taking on any venture capital. All we did, took a one-to-many presentation, plugged it into a funnel, and launched it, okay? Now, as you guys know the story, so far, ClickFunnels now is over 10 years old. In the first 10 years, we crossed over $1 billion in sales, all off the back of this one-to-many presentation, which is thank you. I'll take that, I think it's good. Okay, now I'm not telling you that you're gonna make $1 billion by having a presentation. That's not what I'm saying, okay? What I am saying is if you learn this skill set, and it is a skill set, it's a learnable skill set. If you learn how to do it, you guys can be insanely successful without having to take on venture capitals and outside things, right? It's gonna help you guys be really successful. Now, questions like, well, Russell, of course it works for you. You invented the thing. Does it work for other people? Now, I've literally shared this with tens of thousands of people at this point. We have success stories and case studies in every market you can dream of. I do wanna show you one of them though. Just, this is one of my favorite. This is Kaylin Poland. And Kaylin, a couple years in the ClickFunnels, she came into our world and she launched a fitness company called Lady Boss. And she was one of the first people I taught this framework to. I was like, hey, this is how I do my webinars. Let me show you how it works. And so she took the framework, she went out there, and they launched their very first version of the webinar. From there, boom, her and her husband won a 2 Comma Club award. After that, they won a lot of 2 Comma Club awards. Then after that, they won a 2 Comma Club X award. After that, they won a 2 Comma Club C award, right? These are all the awards you guys see over here, right? The 2 Comma Club award. And it's funny, last time I did this event, somebody told me that the biggest aha they had was like finally understanding what 2 commas meant. So if you don't know, there are 2 commas in $1 million. Now, this is not saying that you made $1 million, saying that your funnel grossed $1 million, okay? When you've processed $1 million inside of a funnel, ClickFunnels sends you one of these amazing awards. You have a chance to come on stage, get pictures with me and you and Todd holding this award. But this is the 2 Comma Club award, right? And so they got the first one, then they got a whole bunch more. And then the next level up after 2 Comma Club award, the Roman numeral for 10 is an X, the 2 Comma Club X award. The 2 Comma Club C award, basically, there's a record every time you pass 25 million until you have all 4, that's $100 million, right? So those were the 3, the awards that they got, doing one-to-many presentations, selling their training apps, selling their supplements, things like that. But then of all things, this is the one I'm most proud of. Not only did that, they also won an award we have called the 2 Heart Award. The 2 Heart Award is when somebody gets this when they've donated over $1 million to their favorite charity. Right? And so let's give them a huge round of applause. Okay? My favorite thing about the funnel hacking community that you guys are now part of, like, coming into this whole thing, like we try to develop a community of people who are impact-driven, like how do we change the world? And it's not just like how do we make money, Like, there's a lot of communities online that teach you how to make money. Yes, the goal is to help you guys make money, help sell more stuff online, but more importantly, it's how do you change people's lives through the products and services you sell, right? What's the ripple effect of what you do into the world? And then like giving you the ability to do something like Brandon and Caitlin did, which is like actually donate $1 million for charity is crazy, okay? All right, so what we're gonna be covering over the next couple days, I want you guys first off to understand what I call the 3 levels of selling. This is gonna help you see where all this stuff kind of fits in, okay? So the first level of selling is called one-on-one selling. How many of you guys do one-on-one selling? Okay, if you do, type in the comments, say one-on-one selling, one-on-one selling. I want to see how many one-on-one selling people. Okay, you get on the phone, maybe you're going door to door, maybe you're working in a car dealership, someone's coming up to you. It could be anything, right? Okay, most of us at one point in our life have done some type of one-on-one selling, right? That's like the first phase that most people do it, right? You learn how to do sales, you go out there and you start making money, knocking on doors, right? For me, when I launched ClickFunnels, when I launched my business, that's the very first thing I did, right? I jumped on the phone, I started getting leads, I would call them on the phone and try to sell them stuff. Now, for me, as an introvert, my number one fear in life, which is embarrassing, but it's true, is the phone. I hate phone calls more than anything. Please never call me, please, okay? So I'm on the phone doing this, I'm like, I hate this. So the first thing I did is like, I want some leverage, so I hired a bunch of salespeople. This is a picture of like our boards. You see how people's names on top, how much money they made each week, so, you know, and so I transitioned from me doing one-on-one to having a team of people doing one-on-one, okay? And that's typically the first phase of selling, right? Doing one-on-one either yourself or you have a team of people doing one-on-one selling. Okay. Now I'm going to share some stories that people in the ClickFunnels funnel hacker community that I think will help illustrate why this is so cool, right? One of my favorite stories is Jamie Cross. And Jamie, when she got started, she's an entrepreneur and she created her own soaps, right? And she loved these soaps and she started going out. And the first thing she did, she created the product. She started going door to door. She'd knock on doors and actually sell the soaps, business to business, right? That's how she started the business. Okay. Then she started thinking, how do I get more leverage? Then she transitioned. She started going to farmers markets. This is the picture of her at the farmers market. She set up all her stuff. And people walk by and she'd have one-on-one presentations with them to sell her soaps, right? That's how she launched her business. Again, that's how most people start any kind of business. Either it's your own business or you're working for someone as a salesperson, right? Another great example, this is Brad and Ryan, who are in our community as well. They are financial planners, and they got their start going to people's houses and doing these meetings, right? You'd have a meeting with a financial planner. They show you how to do whatever they do, right? And then they sell you health insurance at the end, right? That's kind of, I think, how the financial planning world works. And that's what they're doing. They were going from house to house to house, right? And they made pretty good money, right? Like, it's a good income. It's a good industry to be in. Okay. But again, there's always this cap. And that's the problem with everything that's happening on one-on-one selling, right? You can make good money. Like selling is like the best profession in the world, right? But at one-on-one, there's this level you just get stuck. Right? You can't get past it. There's a ceiling because you're always bound by time. How many farmers markets can Jamie do? How many doors can she knock? How many places can Brad and Ryan go and actually do these lunch presentations, right? How many people's houses can do it? Eventually you run out of time. So you can make a really good income, but you're always capped out eventually when you're focusing on one-to-one selling. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you want to make more money, it's not just like, let me become better at selling, let me master my skills. Like those are important, but even with that, unless you can figure out a course that gives you like 800 hours a day, you're always capped out. There's always that limit. You cannot break it no matter how hard you try. Okay, so that's the first level of selling. Okay, now the second level of selling, this is where it starts getting fun, is called one-to-many selling. Okay, this is where there's one of you, but you're not speaking one-on-one, you're speaking to many people at once, right? Again, a good example is this when I spoke at Grant Cardone's 10X event, right? So there's one of me with 9,000 other people, so one too many, right? I had a chance to give a presentation here. Now, this was one of the coolest things that happened in my life. I spoke at stages all around the world. It's not often you speak in front of 9,000 people, and the screenshot here is insane. You look at that, like, how many guys, I show this by people, there's kind of two things. Some people get really excited by that, like, that sounds awesome. Some like get really stressed out, like, that seems horrible. I would never want to do that. So how many of you guys like, yes, that seems amazing? How many of you guys like, no, I would rather die than do that, okay? I totally understand. This was scary for me, but I remember walking out, I was like, there's 9,000 people, and there's one of me, and I had a chance to sell to all these people. Now, I want to walk you through the numbers behind what happened during this presentation, because they're kind of cool, okay? Number one, I had a 90-minute slot to speak, right? So 90 minutes on stage. I was selling a $2,997 offer. Again, there were 9,000 people who were in the room. I did my presentation, and what's crazy, of the 9,000 people, we had 1,079 people who actually bought the product. Okay. Now, what's crazy is typically when you do a table rush, like you're in a square room, people run to the back, there's order forms in the back, but we're in Mandalay Bay, right? So things wrapped around. So I'm like, if you're buying over here, go up to G6, then run by the hot dog stand. You're over here, run down to the bottom. I'm trying to do this whole, like, it was chaos. It was crazy. And then when it was done, I said, after you sign up, I'm going to be over in whatever, H2, next to the hot dog stand, next to the whatever. And if you want to get a picture with me, come get a picture with me. That way you can set a goal, like, you can take the picture and remember that, like, this is the day you're committing, you're going to change your life, right? And so I did that. Everyone ran and bought. And then I went up, we went to the back doors, the back hallways in this elevator. I came out, and it was crazy. I look out, and their line is wrapping around the Mandalay Bay. I stood there, I took pictures of people for 6 hours. 6. Remember when you got married, you had to smile all day and your face was really retired? This was way worse, 6 hours. And what's crazy is like the table rush or the line of people it wrapped around the entire Mandalay Bay 3 times. It was crazy. The best table rush I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, what else is crazy is the person who spoke right after me was Damon John. You guys know Damon? Damon is actually famous. I'm literally a nobody. He is famous. He was on stage and nobody was in the audience because they were wrapped around Mandalay waiting to get a picture with me. That's the power we're talking about, okay? Now, what's crazy is I actually have a video of the table rush. Do you guys want to see it? It's like a 30-second clip, but I just want you guys to see what it looked like because it was one of the most insane things that ever happened in my entire life. So check this out.
My name is Russell Brunson, and February 23rd of this year, something special happened. Grant Cardone put on an event called 10X Growth Con. It was about how to 10X your company in the next 12 months. And I was invited to speak about ClickFunnels and then make an offer to the audience selling ClickFunnels as well as a training package. And as I stepped on stage the very first time, I looked at over 9,000 amazing people. And over the next 90 minutes, I gave a presentation where every second was scripted and choreographed with one goal, which was to get people to stand up and to run to sign up for ClickFunnels. The goal was $3 million in sales, and we ended up doing over $3.2 million in that 90-minute window.
Russell Brunson spoke to 9,000 people. 1 out of 9 people purchased his product.
The reason why I've come has been him right now.
You know, he's the best in the world at what he does.
Actually, I had to act right away.
I drank the Kool-Aid, I'm swimming in it.
If you don't get this program, you're crazy.
Very evident. Look at that crowd.
Is that crazy? So that was the biggest table rush in the history of the world. We actually literally set a world record at that event, which is kind of crazy. It's yet to be broken, but I'm very competitive. I want you guys to break it so I can try to beat you, okay? So that's why I'm teaching you guys this stuff, because I want you to break my record. Now, I want to walk through this, okay? Because this is really interesting to think about this. So, like, that's pretty cool, right? But if I was speaking one-on-one, right? Let's say I took those 9,000 people in the room and I lined them up, right? And I did a 90-minute presentation with the first person, 90-minute presentation with the next person, and the next person, and the next person. For me to make that much money, but also for me to have that much impact, it would have taken me 810,000 minutes to do the same thing I did one-to-many in 90 minutes, okay? That's the downside of one-on-one. 810,000 minutes. You do the math on that. If you're working 40-hour weeks, that's 6.49 years it would take you to have the same impact and make the same amount of sales as I was able to do in one 90-minute session speaking one-to-many, okay? Now, are you guys having like, is the aha going off like, oh, because some of you guys came here like, I'm the best salesman, I'm way better than Russell selling, right? At Grant Cardone's event, Grant's people are all salespeople. Some of the greatest salespeople on the planet. I remember afterwards, people coming in line, taking pictures, people kept coming and saying, you were the greatest salesman I've ever seen. You're the great, and they kept telling me that over and over, and it's like, it's crazy. I'm like, it's not true. One-on-one, if we were all competing, you guys would probably outclose me every single time. But I know something you don't know. I know how to do one-to-many. And it's similar, but it's different. Right? That's the biggest thing. A lot of you guys are here because you're really good salespeople trying to figure out how to sell more, right? And so you get in a situation where you're trying to sell one-to-many, but because you don't understand the nuances behind it, you can't out-convert me, right? Because what I'm going to be teaching you guys is something different than selling one-on-one. When I'm selling one-on-one, I have the ability to ask questions and resolve concerns, right? When I'm speaking to the masses, I don't. So you have to structure your presentations differently to try to resolve everybody's concerns at the same time, which is what you're going to be learning, and it's going to be amazing. Now, a couple of things. Some of you guys are looking at us saying, well, Russell, that's cool. There's no way I could do that. And I want you guys to understand that this is a learnable skill. I promise you this, okay? Not only because I've taught tons of people, but mostly because I figured it out myself. I want to rewind back 20 or so years ago, back when Russell was just getting started in this business, in this industry, and I first learned about it the very first time. I told you guys the story earlier, right? I'm at the event, I'm seeing people still backstage. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. Somebody invited me to speak at their event. I show up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my presentation. And I figured out how to have my presentation figured out. I figured out an offer. Like, I did all the things. I got on stage, and again, I bombed. Nobody bought. But I want to show you guys the footage. And this is kind of embarrassing for me to even show it to you guys. I'm not going to lie. You have my permission to tease me in the comments relentlessly. My kids do when I show them the first time. So you have that. But this is kind of hard. This is me 20 years ago. And I was scared. I was nervous. In fact, as you'll see from the pictures here in a second, I have a shaved head. I have glasses on. I have a tie because I thought to be a business person, you had to wear a shirt and tie. And you can see like I have my microphone clip hanging on the tie. It's like hanging down. Anyway, it's so embarrassing. But I want to show you guys this because some of you guys are like, well, I can't ever do what Russell does because I'm not Russell. But I want to show you where I started. Now, my guess, how many of you guys have ever done a selfie video on Instagram or TikTok or any of the things before? Okay. All right. If you've ever done one, I promise you, you are better than I was then. Okay. And so I show this to show you like how bad I was and how I learned to be like how I learned this skill set and became the person who set the world record doing it. Okay, so here is a quick video. Actually, do you guys want to see this? You want to see the first time I ever spoke? If you want to see it, let me know. We can just skip the session. I'm cool with that too. Okay, all right, so here's the very first time I ever had a chance to speak on stage.
But what I wanted to talk about tonight is kind of a broad overview, hopefully help you to get better information out of the whole internet marketing business. This is a lot bigger group than I had planned on.
Okay, so there you go. So that was the very first time. How many of you guys know right now, you're like, I'm already better than that, Russell? Like, yes, okay. Yeah, like I was so scared, so nervous. Like I didn't know what I was doing. And I was not comfortable. I was very introverted, right? But if I can go from that to this, like what can you guys do? Okay, now how many of you guys want to see the very first time I ever sold from stage? This one's honestly even more painful, but I tried my best. I was doing like everything I could figure out how to do. So you guys won't have to do what I did because I'm going to teach you guys how to shortcut all of the awkward Russell phase. But here's a video of me the very first time I actually sold online. Now, imagine the table rush that came on the backside of this. Check it out.
Okay, am I getting close on time? If you do join the affiliate bootcamp, it'll give you lifelong training. It's a $47 a month value. You'll get it for free. Who would like a piece of that? Here's my irresistible offer. And hopefully you guys learned a lot from this presentation.
Give him a standing ovation. He did a great job.
Nobody stood up, not even one person. They just sat there like, what was that train wreck we just witnessed, right? And then you guys like my sales pitch, like, who wants a piece of that, right? So that's where I got started at, right? Most of you guys are already better than that. Now, if I can take you and compress a decade or 2 decades into a couple days, would it be worth learning the skill? Okay, yes. Now, I wish I could go back to 22-year-old Russell and say, like, dude, I know that was awkward and painful and embarrassing, but I promise you, if you just stick with this is a learnable skill. You can become really, really good at this, and you can change the world because of it. Like, I wish I could tell him that because I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't want to speak on stage. Like, I didn't want any of these kind of things, but I felt called. I felt that what Alex Sharfin calls the call of contribution. Like, I wanted to do something, and I felt called to do that, even though it scared me to death, and I did it, right? How many of you guys are the same way? You felt the call of contribution. That's why you showed up. Right? You're like, I want to do this. I want to figure this out. Okay? If you have that, if you felt that pull, that tug, I promise you guys, you can learn the skill set and you can become great at it. Okay? Now, next thing I want you guys to understand is that getting rich and making a lot of money is all about leverage and speed. Okay? If you understand that. A lot of times people are like, how do you get rich? I've on Instagram all the time, I see the videos of people come up to these like rich people like, hey, how'd you get rich? And they're always telling these crazy things. But the reality is getting rich is about 2 things, understanding leverage and speed. Leverage and speed. Okay? Everything we're talking about today is going to be fueling that, right? Leverage and speed. Think about one to many, right? There's leverage. Me speaking one-on-one, there's no leverage. One to many, there's leverage, there's speed. Okay? Now, I had a chance a little while ago to hang out with one of my favorite people on this planet, Mr. Myron Golden. And I was doing a podcast interview with him. And during this time, I asked him a question about, because there's a whole negative connotation, like get rich quick. And I asked Myron his thoughts on like, what are your thoughts about people who want to try to get rich quick versus, how does that work in your head? And the response he gave me, this is like less than a minute long, but it was one of the most powerful things I ever heard, talking about the power between leverage and speed. And so I want to show you guys that clip really, really quick. Here, check this out.
But we talk about the difference of getting rich quick and getting rich slow.
Right. So it starts with the question. If you make $1 million, are you rich? And the people who are watching on YouTube right now, you can just answer that question in the chat, like in the comments. If you make $1 million, are you rich? That's a good question. And some people would say yes, other people would say no. I would say it depends. How long did it take you to make it? Because if you make $25,000 a year and you work for 40 years, you've made $1 million. Are you rich? No. What if you make the same $1 million in 1 year? Yes, but it's the same amount of money. So it's not the amount of money that makes you rich or poor. It's how fast or slow you make it. Wealth denotes speed. So my philosophy is this: either get rich quick or you'll stay broke for the rest of your life.
All right. How many of you just had first off, like a mind blow, or you just had this aha of like, whoa, it's true, right? Like, you've got to figure out leverage and speed if you're ever going to get there. Because all you guys will probably make $1 million in a lifetime. Cool. It's not very much money, right? How do you make it in a decade? How do you make it in a year? How do you make it in a week, a month, or a day? That's the questions we should be asking ourselves, okay? It all comes down to leverage and speed, okay? All right, now, a couple things. This was insane. Speaking for 9,000 people was like the coolest thing. How many guys, that's crazy, right? Unfortunately, even for me, that doesn't happen every day. That happened once in my lifetime. If I could go and line up and every day speak 9,000 people, that'd be the coolest thing in the world. But it's just not possible. Okay, it's rare to have somebody fill up a stadium that big, right? And for a lot of you guys, you'll never have that opportunity. I'll probably never have it again. It happened one time only. It was amazing, right? But what's even more insane than this, and this is what I want you guys to understand. What's even more insane is that last month, I set up a funnel that has that same presentation, the same one-to-many presentation. Last month alone, we had 42,000 people who registered for that webinar and saw the presentation. Is that crazy? So 9,000 is great, right? But I had to be there doing all the work, doing all the effort. 42,000 registered, watched the webinar, and guess where I was at during that time? I was not there, right? My stage looked more like this, hanging out with my kids, right? Because the presentation, I built the funnel, I put in the one-to-many presentation, and I left. And every single month in and month out, 40, 50, 60,000 people register, watch the presentation, register, watch the presentation, and it keeps making sales for me, okay? It's gonna pay for during my life, during my kids' life, my kids' life. Like when I die, I told my family, do not turn the funnels off. Like, let the presentations continue to sell while I'm gone. You have my permission, right? The thing is done. Like, just let it keep rolling forever. And that's the power. After you create the one-to-many presentation, you plug it into a funnel, which we're showing you exactly how to do over the next 3 days. Then you step back, and every single day, you could be on a stage of 100 people, 1,000 people, 9,000 people, 10,000 people. And that is the magic while you're there with your family doing the things you actually want to, okay? And so that's the goal, okay? And that brings us to the third level of selling, okay? We had one-on-one selling, one-to-many selling, but the third level trumps them all. And that's when you start using the one-to-many selling process and plugging inside of what we call a sales funnel, okay? And we'll talk a lot about sales funnels tomorrow. In fact, I'm gonna show you guys the #1 sales funnel you can use with your one-to-many presentation to grow and to scale quickly. It's the one that we use to grow ClickFunnels. I'll show you a bunch of other ones. It's gonna be insane, but that's tomorrow. We'll talk more about funnels. But I want you to understand like the power of one funnel, right? Back in the day when I had my one-on-one sales floor and we were doing phone calls back and forth, I had 60 full-time salespeople. I was literally able to take 60 full-time salespeople, fire them all, and replace them with one webinar doing a one-to-many presentation. That was it, okay? Is that crazy? Okay, I remember some of you guys know Ty Lopez. He's one of the biggest influencers in the world. He was the very first person that made a selfie video that went viral. He's the inventor of the selfie video. And he has this huge mansion back in California somewhere. So I had a chance to go to the Ty mansion. And it was kind of a crazy thing. He lives a very crazy lifestyle. I showed up like 11 o'clock at night. We came in, he showed me through the Ty mansion. We're hanging out talking. And like 1 o'clock in the morning, he's like, hey, you want to go live to my people? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we can go live. Like, I'm like, it's 1 in the morning. Who's going to show up? He's like, oh, check this out. So we set up some seats, and then he had like these painter poles, and he hooked these phones, like 5 or 6 different phones to these painter poles. And he clicked, one was like Snapchat, went live on Snapchat, one was Instagram, one was Facebook, and I clicked, and all of a sudden within 30 seconds, we're live on every single platform on these phones. We had like 300,000 or 400,000 people watching. It was crazy. I'd never had that experience before. And so we're talking, and we ended up doing like a 4-hour interview with me and Ty. And one of the questions he asked me in the interview was fascinating. He's like, man, you have ClickFunnels, you're growing to over $100 million a year. Like, this is one of the coolest like success stories ever. How big is your sales team? And I kind of looked at him for a second. I smiled. I was like, well, it's just me. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I created a sales presentation, one-to-many, and I plugged inside of a funnel, and then we just drive traffic to the funnel, and it does all the selling for us. And he could not fathom that, right? That's the power, you guys. When you understand, you take a one-to-many presentation and plug it inside of a sales funnel. It changes everything for you. In fact, I showed you guys earlier, Jamie Cross, right? Jamie took the presentation she was doing at farmers markets. She plugged it inside of a funnel right here. With 8 months of her building out her very first funnel, she went from not having any online income at all to winning 2 Comic Club Award. That crazy? Check out this next one. You can give a round of applause. That's amazing. Okay, next one here, this is Brad and Ryan. They went from going house to house to house doing these meetings to doing a one-to-many presentation. If you can look right here, look at that close. 1,212 people. 1,212 people. So same presentation they would have given across the kitchen table with one person. They do the exact same presentation to 1,212 people at once. If you're a financial planner, you're making good money doing one-on-one, how much better do you do one on 1,212? Changes everything, right? They learned this presentation, plugged in, started driving traffic to it, and they went from having no online presence at all to winning a 2 Comic Club, 2 Comic Club X, 2 Comic Club C award in record time. Okay? Understand that the goal of every single sales funnel is only to do one thing, and that is to present your one-to-many presentation, and then the one-to-many presentation makes people an offer. That's the big secret behind everything, okay? So what you're gonna be learning is these pieces: funnel, one-to-many presentation, how to create an offer. All this stuff is how we grow and scale businesses online right now. That's the whole big secret you guys are gonna be learning and understanding and mastering over the next 3 days, which is gonna be so much fun. And you can use sales funnels to sell anything. I don't care what you're selling. If you are selling books, info products, I've used this to make my book a New York Times best-selling, become a New York Times best-selling author through funnels, courses, physical products. Like it works for anything you are doing. I don't care what it is. You can plug it into what we'll be teaching us over the next 3 days, and you can use it to sell a lot more things. Okay. I got one more thing before I jump into the very big first session here. I want to explain the value of the next 3 days for you. Okay. Obviously, all you guys, you spend $100 to register and to be here. And my biggest fear is you are going to look at this the next 3 days as a $100 event. And if you do that, this is going to be the problem. Some of you guys are here right now, but you're on your phone, and some of you guys are like, you're like going to pick and choose sessions and be in and out. You're not going to be focusing. Okay. If you look at this as a $100 event, that's what you're going to get out of about $100 worth of value, okay? But I want to show you, this is the picture of my friend Chris McClurg, and this is a couple months ago. I did a podcast, and I said, hey, I'm going to take 2 people, and I'm going to help them to build out an entire one-to-many presentation, okay? I said I'll spend 5 hours with you going through, like figuring out all the pieces, helping you script out the presentation, the offer, plug it all in together, and then I will actually stand on stage. I will do your pitch for you, and I'll give you the video, and you can take it home, and you can learn, you can master it. Okay, I'm going to do it for 2 people, and it's $100,000. Okay, I sent that out. Within 24 hours, I had 38 people who messaged me like, I want in on that. I said, cool. I went through, and there were about 8 or 9 that were actually qualified. I said, okay, the first 2 people who wired me the money, you get to be the 2 people, right? And instantly, one wire came in, and that message from Chris came in. Chris was like, hey, I'm in. Instead of wiring the money, can I bring you the money in a briefcase to Boise and just give it to you as cash, almost as a joke? I was like, haha. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm actually speaking at an event next week, and I'm going to be literally talking about one-to-many presentations. What if you brought the cash there and you gave it to me on stage? And he's like, I'm in. So then Chris flew into where we were at. We were having this event, and during my presentation, I was like, there's a guy here who apparently wants to give me $100,000 to help him build out his entire presentation. And Chris stood up. He came on stage. He brought in $100,000 cash, and it was crazy. Think about this. Like, do you guys know what it takes to get $100,000 cash from banks? Banks don't have $100,000 like sitting in them. And so he had to go to like 10 different banks to get like 1,000 here, 5,000 here to get it all. And then he had to take the briefcase through TSA, right? And I don't know, the type of people who bring $100,000 cash to TSA are usually like, what, drug dealers? I don't know. So he got it through TSA, somehow got it to the event and brought it to me. And I remember after it was done, he handed it to me. He's like, I'm so glad I don't have this anymore. And I was like, thanks, man. And then I was like, how do I get home with this? And so I remember going and I'm trying to be like nonchalant, but my team wants to film everything. So they got cameras that are all like in the background filming me. I go through TSA and I put the bag on and it's going through, the metal detector. And of course, beep, it gets beeped off and they pull it off. I'm like, oh no, I'm in big trouble, right? And the guy takes it, the TSA agent takes it over there to the side and they're very like angry looking, opens it up and he opens it, boom, pops it open. He looks down, then he looks back up at me for a second, looks back down, looks up at me again. And I'm like, oh no, I'm getting arrested. Like, this is where it ends. Like, I'm gonna call my wife, like, I'm in jail, I'm so sorry. And then he like keeps looking, then he closes it back down, like reseals it, and kind of turns it towards me. And I'm like, and I grab it and I run off with it really quick, right? But it was like the scariest thing. And then this is the other picture right here. If you look at that, it's like me standing in front of like trying to buy some treats and some candy. So my team took a picture and like I'm holding $100,000 cash in the bag right there. It's like, man, like if people knew, like, anyway, it was kind of ridiculous. But that's the value. Like for Chris, the value what you guys will learn the next 3 days is worth $100,000 to him. Now, I'm sharing this with you guys because if you will look at this as like this was a $100,000 investment, you will look at this completely different than I spent $100 to be here. Okay? The person who spent $100 is going to be like, you're here, but not all the way here. The person who spent $100,000 is listening to every word I'm saying, is paying attention, taking notes. Like if you look at that, you'll get a very similar experience to what Chris is going through right now with his $100,000 investment if you change the way you perceive this, okay? Act like you just invested $100,000. If you do that, this event will change your life forever. Does that make sense? All right. Very, very cool. Okay. So the goal of the next 3 days, okay? There's a couple of steps in here, okay? Step number 1, the first thing we're going to help you guys do is figure out what is your level 10 offer, okay? What is the offer you are going to be presenting, right? You have the right offer, you put it in front of the right audience, people are going to buy it. So we're helping you figure out a level 10 offer, okay? Second step is then we're going to help you to craft out your one-to-many selling presentation that's going to sell that offer, okay? After you have the one-to-many presentation, the third step is figuring out what is the virtual stage or the funnel we're going to create to be able to deliver your one-to-many presentation. And then after doing that, it's going to get you guys onto what we call 2 commas worth of impact, okay? So I didn't say the 2 comma club. Like, yes, I want you guys to make a whole bunch of money. Like, my goal is for you guys to get insanely rich. That'd be great if you guys did that, right? But that's not my goal. My goal is like, I'm doing this long enough. I know that the people who earn one of these awards, a lot of things. Number 1 is you're going to learn a lot about yourself, okay? Starting a business and growing a business is like the best personal development event in the world, right? You're going to learn a lot. You're going to grow because of the pursuit of this. Number 2, I know that the amount of people's lives you have to change to actually earn one of these is crazy, okay? So yes, you get a 2 Comma Club award, but the real reality is like for you to earn this, you have to have 2 commas worth of impact. You're gonna change tons of people's lives because of the messages and the products and the services you're putting out there. And so that's the last step and the last goal here inside the event, okay? So I'm gonna share a version of the slide over and over and over again, but these are the things, right? Level 10 offer, one-to-many presentation, figure out your virtual stage, AKA your funnel, and then having those 3 pieces to get you guys your 2 commas worth of impact. All right, so that said, how many of you guys are officially ready to jump into session number 1? If you are, let's re-stand up. Let's stretch out again really quick so we have our arms around. I wanna make sure you guys are ready, you're awake. We've now laid all the foundation for the next 3 days. Now you understand one-to-many selling, you understand sales funnels, all the kind of stuff, how it fits together. Now we're gonna dive into the content. And I'm excited. The very first session number 1 right now is called Subconscious Success. And this is probably of all the things you're gonna learn over the next 3 days I'm most excited for. Yes, you're gonna learn the tactics, the strategies, everything you need to be successful, but this is gonna be a thing that actually frees you up, helping you understand how your brain works. In fact, the very first paradigm shift I want you guys to have is I want you to understand that the only thing keeping you from your goals is your brain. That's it, okay? It's not like how much money you make. It's not where you were born. Doesn't matter like how old you are, how young you are, like all the different excuses people have. None of that stuff's true, okay? The only thing keeping you from your goals, the thing you want to achieve the most is your brain, okay? So if you know that, we have to understand how does your brain actually work? I remember when I first launched ClickFunnels, we did our very first event ever. It's called Funnel Hacking Live, right? And we had 600 or 700 people that came to that event. And I remember I laid down, here's all the strategy to be successful, right? I gave these people, I gave them everything. Like everything I learned, everything I'd done, I'm like, if you just do this, you'll be successful. I gave it to them, they went home. And from that first group, the amount of people that had success was very, very small. And I was so frustrated and confused, right? So the next Funnel Hacking Live, a year later happens. This time we have 1,200 people in the room. I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna have everyone be successful. So I went through and I worked twice as hard, made twice as many systems and processes and frameworks, made it so simple, gave it to everybody, and guess what happened? Same thing. Very few people had success. I'm like, I don't understand this. And I remember I had a chance to talk to Tony Robbins. I'm like, Tony, I am so frustrated. I'm giving people everything I got on a silver platter, and they're not having success with it. He's like, oh, it's because you think the success comes from the tactics, right? I'm like, yeah, I gave them all the tactics. He's like, no. He's like, tactics are only 10% of success. The other 90% is their psychology, what's happening inside their brain. Like if you fix their psychology, the tactics become easy. But if you give people tactics without the right psychology, they'll never be successful. I was like, oh, I had no idea. It didn't even cross my mind, right? And then I asked Tony, I was like, well, does that mean, will you come to Funnel Hacking Live and teach people psychology so the tactics will actually work? And he said, yes. He came for the third Funnel Hacking Live, and he spoke for 4 hours. And what's crazy, that was the first group. People left, and we started seeing success. We started seeing success just like growing faster and faster and faster. It was one of the coolest things in the world. And so I want to spend some time right now going into your psychology, helping you understand your mind, but it's actually for 2 different purposes. Number 1 is I want you to understand your own psychology, right? But number 2, okay, later on today, I'm doing a session called Subconscious Selling. And the metaphor I'm gonna be teaching you about your mind, you have to understand it for the subconscious selling to make any sense, okay? So these are building blocks. Everything we're doing is building upon each other. In fact, session by session, that's why you can't miss anything, okay? So this session is gonna be subconscious success, okay? After lunch, we're going to subconscious selling, and they go hand in hand, because the metaphor I'm gonna share with you guys will make it so when you when you are on stage speaking one-to-many, that you can actually be successful to get people to break their false belief patterns, to get them to move, to get them to buy the things, okay? But it all leads down to this metaphor of the mind. Now, what I wanna do is the very first time I really taught this to a group of people was at one of our Funnel Hacking Live events. It was a virtual one. I was in this really cool studio, the stadium where I had LED walls wrapped the whole thing. And my inner circle members, people who spend between $50,000 and $250,000 a year, were in the room. And I wanted to show them something really powerful. And so for the very first time, I introduced this metaphor of the brain. And afterwards, people freaked out. It was like the coolest thing in the world. And then I showed them what I'm gonna show you guys after lunch was how to then use that to get people to buy from you, how to use it with one-to-many selling, and it changed everything for people. So what I wanna do is I actually wanna transport you into Funnel Hacking Live, into the stadium. Pretend like you just spent $50,000, you're in my inner circle, you're sitting front row, and you're listening to me. I'm gonna teach you guys this metaphor for the mind. And then we come back, again, I'm gonna show you guys after lunch how to then use that inside your one-to-many presentations to change everything. So with that said, let me transport you into Funnel Hacking Live. This is a metaphor. Obviously, I'm not a brain doctor. There are people way smarter than me. I remember like studying the brain. There's so many things. It's so complex, so confusing. It didn't help me at all. In fact, how many of you guys know Andrew Huberman? Like Huberman's like the guy, brilliant, like biggest podcast in the world. He came to my house. We filmed him for 3 hours talking about the brain. I was like, this guy is so smart. I don't understand a word he's saying. Okay? So this is the Russell version of the brain. This is a simplified metaphor so that this is what helps me to understand how my brain works and help me be successful. If you guys understand this metaphor, you have everything you need to understand about your brain to actually be successful, okay? So you guys cool if I simplify it? All right, good. So here's the metaphor. So there are 3 core parts about your brain we're gonna be talking about. And I'm gonna break this down and teach you guys the parts of the brain with my friends right here, these stuffed animals. Now I'm doing this because we do a kid event every couple of years called Unlock the Secrets. And the first time I taught this at the kid event. I was like, all these adults know this stuff, I'm gonna teach it to the kids. And I brought my friends along and I taught it to the kids. And the kids were like, this is amazing, they finally got it. And all the parents were like, we finally understand it. So I know you guys don't need the elephants, this is for your kids, but just, hopefully it'll help for everybody, okay? And again, I'm showing you this for 2 reasons. Number 1, for yourself. Number 2, to show you how to persuade people afterwards, okay? So I'm walking through 3 parts. The very first part of the brain I want to talk about is your conscious mind. This is the thing that me and you are talking about right now, our conscious mind, right? Now in the metaphor, there are 2 parts to your conscious mind, and we call these the monkeys. Buddha called the conscious mind the monkey mind, because it's always chattering back and forth, talking back and forth, right? And all of us, we have these conversations happening all day long, right? All of us are talking to ourselves all the time. Right now, you guys are asking questions like, what's Russell doing? What's he talking about? Is this real? Is this not right? This is consciously happening, right? Now, our monkey mind, I have 2 people in my monkey mind. One of them is emotion. This seems like a very emotional monkey, right? This is our emotional one. And this is our logical smart one, okay? We have emotion, we have logic. Emotion, logic, okay? Now, some of you guys, everyone here is driven, like one of these monkeys is usually louder for each of you guys. As a kid, traditionally, the emotional monkey is usually a lot louder. He's the one that wins, right? As you become more adult, a lot of times the logical one becomes bigger, but we still use both these when we're talking, we're having decisions, and emotion and logic are fighting back and forth all the time. Having conversations, talking, a whole bunch of stuff like that, okay? I didn't bring him here, but the kid event, I brought out a box of Twinkies, and I went out in the audience, and I showed the Twinkies that I said, I had a parent and a child. I said, who wants a Twinkie? And the kid's like, I want a Twinkie. And I was like, hey, what mind is that? I was like, that's emotional. Like, give me a Twinkie. And I asked the parent, I'm like, do you want a Twinkie? And they're like, no. I'm like, why not? And they're like, well, it's because it's got high calories, it's got, high fructose corn syrup, like it's gonna make me feel sluggish, and like the logical mind. I was like, how interesting, right? Every time we have a decision, 2 monkeys look at it like, ooh, I want that emotionally. But what about this? What about, this looks so good, I'm so hungry. Like, look at the calories, we can't eat that, come on. And like chattering back and forth, right? How many of you guys make that same argument every time you go out to eat? If you guys been to the Cheesecake Factory, you open up, it's like 8,000 pages, but they have like the menu item next to it's the calories. And so you look at the menu, you're like, that looks amazing. And the calories is like 4,500 calories for like 1 slice of cheesecake? Like, what? Right? But you're like, but it's gonna be so good. And like, this is gonna take us 2 weeks to boil and soft, but come on. And like, this is the thing, right? This happens all the time. This happens also like when we're having conversations like trying to decide about business. Should we do this thing, should we not, right? Like 2 combo club, I wanna win a 2 combo club award. This is gonna be amazing, right? Like, that's gonna be hard work. You failed in the past, you're gonna fail again. Don't do it. Like, come on, I want one. And we're chattering back and forth, right? So this is your conscious mind and it's arguing all the time. How many of you are having this conversation right now with yourself? Okay? How many guys is the emotional one your driver typically? Raise your hand on my emotional buyers. How many guys are more logical than the logical buyers? Okay, we got both sides. So this is your conscious mind. There's the metaphor for the conscious mind, okay? All right. So conscious mind, a couple things. Again, it's motion and the logic. Now, the thing to understand about the conscious mind speaks in questions. It's always going back and forth and back and forth. You know it's your subconscious mind when you're asking yourself a question. Oh, should I do this? Should I do a red headline, a blue headline? Should I go out to eat with these people? Should I not go out? And like, it's always having these constant questions. Okay? Now, the other thing interesting about the conscious mind is the conscious mind can only get information from 5 different sources. Okay? It gets them through the senses. So through sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch. Okay? So when we have a problem we're trying to attack with something, our conscious mind can only get information through these different things. Okay? A lot of times if I can't solve a problem by like looking at something, reading something, smelling, like if I can't, through those 5 senses, those 5 inputs, if I can't get information through that, I can't solve the problem. Which is why we'll talk about subconscious mind later. Subconscious mind work completely different to help you solve problems. A lot of times that's why when you're trying to solve a problem, you're like, I'm trying to solve a problem, I can't figure it out, I can't get more information, I'm studying, I'm researching, and then you get frustrated and you walk away. You're on a walk or something, or maybe you're in the shower the next morning, you're showering, all of a sudden like it pops in your head like, here's the answer. It's because you weren't consciously doing it. Your conscious mind can only get the information through the 5 senses. And if it can't find those 5 senses, you cannot consciously find the answer. Right? So you have to break out of that. Anyway, that's a whole chapter of another book I may be writing someday that you're going to love. Anyway, okay, the best part of the conscious mind that we have to understand, the best part of the conscious mind is this, it gives us the ability to actually choose. What do we want? Okay? That's what it has. So like, I want this thing. We consciously choose that thing. And the monkeys are fighting back for it. No, I want this. I want to win a 2 combo board. I want to lose weight. I want to run a marathon. Like, we get to choose the thing we want to do, right? So that's the coolest thing about the conscious mind. And that brings us back to the Napoleon Hill's quote I shared on day number 1, right? Like, we consciously get to pick the purpose we want. Okay? There's one quality which one must possess to win, and that's definiteness of purpose, which is the knowledge of what one wants and a burning desire to do it. Okay? We consciously get to pick. I want this thing. I want to win a state title. right? That was my conscious thing. I want to make $1 million a year. I want to start a business. I want to build a community. I want to buy a library, whatever the weird things you guys have, right? I want to buy an old book. Like, we consciously get to choose, okay? And so we have to figure out what is our definite goal, what's our purpose. And I'm going to share a couple quotes from this guy right here. How many of you guys know who Earl Nightingale is? Okay, if you don't know Earl Nightingale, he is one of the greats in the self-help world. Think about, Napoleon Hill wrote books. When Earl Nightingale came on, it was like things have shifted from books to spoken word, to radio. So he was on radio every single day talking about personal development, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts and stuff like that. In fact, I remember my dad had never heard of Napoleon Hill, these people. My dad oh, I know Earl Nightingale. We used to listen to him all the time on the radio. He was on the radio personality. And there's a really cool story. This picture of this gold record. I'll tell you a quick story about this. This is actually at Napoleon, or at Nightingale Cohen's office. I had a chance to go there, and they brought out, this is the gold record. And so the story behind this is Earl Nightingale he owned an insurance company, and he had a whole bunch of sales guys that worked for him, and then he was a radio host, right? And he was about to go on a 3-month-long sabbatical. He had a boat that he bought. He was going to go sail the ocean, right? So he's out to leave, and his assistant's hey, before you leave, the sales guys are going to have no training for 3 months while you're gone. Do you mind recording something I can give them so they can listen to it every week, and we can train them and keep them all motivated? He's like, sure. So he sat down in the morning, wrote out an outline, got on his recorder, and he recorded this audio. It's called The Strangest Secret. He recorded it. He took it to his assistant, gave it to her. She went, and she put it on a record. And next week's sales meeting, while he was gone on a boat, gave it to them. They all listened to the record, and they're like, this is the best thing Earl ever did. This is amazing, right? And that's where it's supposed to end. But then all the sales guys took the records home. They printed 40 of them, I think, so each of them had their own record, and they started playing it for their friends and their family members, and then everyone else wanted a copy. They started calling the office and asking his assistant, hey, do you have any more records? I want one. And she's like, So she went and printed a couple more, sent a couple to friends and stuff, and then she's like, hey, get back to work, you guys. You're salespeople. Go sell stuff for Earl while he's gone, right? And then a couple more people got it, kept spreading, more people started calling, it started going viral in a really weird era where there was no computers, but it started going viral. And then somebody at Earl's radio station got the record, listened, this is amazing. So when Earl was normally live on air, they played the record for the entire world to hear. And people heard the record, The Strangest Secret, they start freaking out, they start calling, and she starts getting all these phone calls to the office, and she's like, what do I do? And so basically, while Earl was gone, all the sales guys stopped selling, and they built a shop where they were literally just printing records like crazy and shipping out, printing records, shipping them out. And she's like, I'm in so much trouble. When he gets back, Earl's gonna fire me. I'm in so much trouble. Fast forward out 3 months later, Earl Nightingale pulls up in his ship to the harbor, gets off the ship, and there's this huge, hundreds and hundreds of people there. And he's like, what did I do? Am I under arrest? And he walked to the harbor master. He's like, am I under arrest? What's gonna happen? And he goes, you should probably call your assistant. So he calls his assistant, and she's like, I'm so sorry. We're shipping these things out. It's going crazy. I don't know what to do. Should I stop? And he's like, keep shipping them. I'll see you guys tomorrow, whatever. And so he keeps shipping them. He shows up. He shows up the place. They find out they'd sold, I can't remember, 100,000 plus records while he was gone 3 months. And it became the very first record that ever went, a spoken word record that went platinum. And on top of that, when Earl jumped on the boat, he was 100,000-aire. When he landed on the boat, he was a millionaire. Isn't that crazy? From The Strangest Secret. So The Strangest Secret, if you haven't heard it before, it's a 45-minute talk. It is insane. But I got two pieces, my two favorite parts of The Strangest Secret I want to share with you guys today, okay? The first one is about the conscious mind, is picking the thing we actually want, okay? So here's a clip from The Strangest Secret with Earl Nightingale.
Have you ever wondered why so many men work so hard and honestly without ever achieving anything in particular, and others don't seem to work hard and yet seem to get everything? They seem to have the magic touch. You've heard them say that about someone. Everything he touches turns to gold. And have you ever noticed that a man who becomes successful tends to continue to become successful? And on the other hand, have you noticed how a man who's a failure tends to continue to fail? Well, it's because of goals. Some of us have goals, some don't. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going. It's that simple. Think of a ship leaving a harbor, and think of it with the complete voyage mapped out and planned. The captain and crew know exactly where it's going and how long it'll take. It has a definite goal. Now, 9,999 times out of 10,000, it will get to where it started out to get. Now, let's take another ship, just like the first, only let's not put a crew on it or a captain at the helm. Let's give it no aiming point, no goal, no destination. We just start the engines and let it go. I think you'll agree with me that if it gets out of the harbor at all, it will either sink or wind up on some deserted beach, a derelict. It can't go anyplace because it has no destination and no guidance, and it's the same with a human being. Now let's get back to the strangest secret in the world, the story that I wanted to tell you today. Why do men with goals succeed in life and men without them fail? Well, let me tell you something which, if you really understand it, will alter your life immediately. If you understand completely what I'm going to tell you from this moment on, your life will never be the same again. You will suddenly find that good luck just seems to be attracted to you. The things you want just seem to fall in line, and from now on you won't have the problems, the worries, the gnawing lump of anxiety that perhaps you've experienced before. Doubt, fear, well, they'll be things of the past. Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about. Throughout all history, the great wise men and teachers, philosophers and prophets have disagreed with one another on many different things. It's only on this one point that they are in complete and unanimous agreement. Listen to what Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, said. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. Disraeli said this, everything comes if a man will only wait. I've brought myself by long meditation to the conviction that a human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and that nothing can resist a will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this, a man is what he thinks about all day long. William James said, the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. And he also said, we need only in cold blood act as if the thing in question were real, and it will become infallibly real by growing into such a connection with our life that it will become real. It will become so knit with habit and emotion that our interest in it will be those which characterize belief.
That awesome? Earl Nightingale, let's go. Okay, so it all starts with our conscious thoughts, right? We get to choose what we want to think about. What do you think about all day long? Okay? A lot of times thoughts float up, right, from different places, but we can stop and we say, no, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to think about this. So we start thinking about the thing we want. Think about the goal. Consciously, we get to choose what that is. Right? For you guys, what is your goal? For a lot of you guys in this room as funnel hackers, like our goals are these, right? How do I win 2 column club board, 2 column club X, 2 column club C? How do I win a 2 hard board? Like, we're choosing something we want to pursue, and then we go and we pursue it. Okay? That's where it all begins. All right? So that's step number 1 is the conscious mind. These are our monkeys that get to choose. All right, step number 2, the second part of the brain is our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind, I'm going to liken to this elephant here. Okay? Now, this elephant is awesome. And the elephant is the thing that's actually in charge of our life, whether we know it or not, okay? The monkeys, they think they're in charge. They're like, oh, let's win a 2 column cup award. You're like, that sounds amazing. And the elephant's like, nope, you are not qualified to do that. Nope, you're not smart enough. Nope. Based on years of experience, this is not something that's actually good for you. And it goes the direction it wants to go. No matter how hard the monkey thinks he's in charge, it's the elephant that's actually in charge of our life, okay? This is our subconscious mind. Now, what's interesting about our subconscious mind speaks in stories. Okay, I told you earlier, what do the monkeys speak in? Monkeys speak in questions. Subconscious speaks in stories. Okay? So what happens, the monkey says, I want to do this thing. And the elephant's like, I have a story for that. This is the story. And it puts it on autoplay and tells it which direction it's going to go. Okay? This is the thing that's actually controlling our lives. Most of us are not even aware it's there. Okay? When you're speaking to your audience, by the way, it's the same thing. You think you're having a conversation with the monkeys. The only thing that actually matters is the conversation you're having with the elephant. And most of us don't even know that's who we're talking to. Okay? The elephant is your subconscious mind. It's the thing that actually chooses. Okay? Now, we had something really cool at Inner Circle happen a little while ago. I was talking about subconscious mind. We were sharing some things, and a really cool experience happened. I'm going to show you guys a really quick video clip from this experience. But I was talking about subconscious mind. We're talking about like how thoughts are one thing, but understanding like your feelings and the moods and things that you're experiencing. This is the things that are coming back. This is what the elephant's actually feeling. And then we have someone in the room who's one of our Inner Circle members who is one of the kings at understanding subconscious mind. I had him come and do a cool demonstration. And so I don't want to ruin the surprise, but we'll watch this really quick video clip from an Inner Circle meeting we had 4 or 5 months ago to kind of show the power of the subconscious mind.
So Elsie Lincoln Benedict, do you guys know who she is yet?
Yeah, she's awesome.
The fact that most of you guys know who she is insane. Nobody knew who she was a month ago. Like, she is one of the greatest authors of all time. But she's book number 1 in Secret Success. We're doing a book called, there's a book set she wrote. It's 14 little booklets called How to Get Anything. And it's fascinating. And what was really cool for me, and we had this conversation earlier, because this is what he teaches and talks about, which is, I'm still trying to figure out all the, anyway, again, I'm in this journey right now. But almost every other book I've read, Think and Grow Rich and all the other ones, talk so much about like you think and you change, you think and you change. When Elsie starts, book number 1 was not about thinking. In fact, she says thinking is not the thing that will change anything. She's like, what changes things is your moods or your feelings or your state, which is really fascinating. And I read booklet number 1 2 or 3 times, and then I had a call with Annie Grace for the book club, and we got deeper on it. And what's interesting, like the thing I got was like in any situation, like there's a feeling you have about it, right? And so I started thinking about all the things. In fact, I like wrote down everyone in my family, like my kids, my wife. And I was like, what's the feeling associated? And I think about my wife, I think about one thing. I think about one of my kids, another kid. Like I think about Nora differently than Bowen or eight. Like they're all different. But I was like feeling like interesting. I feel something different for each of them. And I started thinking about circumstances, like going to the office, going back home, going to the library, going like, what are the feelings I feel when I go to wrestling, when I go to the gym? And like, I was like constantly trying to notice like, what are the actual feelings or moods, or what Tony Robbins would call state? Like, what's the state I feel when I think about the thing? And anyway, if you listen to the interview with Andy, she was dropping Andy stats, which were really cool. One of them was like, she said, is Andy in the room by chance? Oh crap, she can fact check me. What did you say? You said 7 seconds before the feeling comes, your subconscious mind, is that what it was? Okay, yeah, you have the feeling 7 seconds before the thought. So like, before I'm thinking about money, I'm automatically like, the feeling's coming 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm thinking about money, boom, and it's already there, like it showed up. And so your question about like money, like how do you overcome money beliefs? Like that's it. It's like, how do you feel about money? I saw Tyler do it at Ray's event. Who did you have up there? It was someone from the audience, right? And he muscle tested. He's like, how do you feel about making $100,000 a year? And she's like, oh. He's like, how do you feel about making $1 million a year? And muscle, she's like, whoo. He's like, your body does not believe it. Like you're like internally feeling like you can't do it, or 10 million or whatever, right? And my guess is for you, if you're stuck at 10, do you want to muscle test him right now? Yeah. Wait, let's find out where he's stuck at right now. Give him a round of applause.
I love muscle testing. This is going to be fun.
Okay, sweet. All right, so
we're coming close to 2 million this year. Not stuck at 10. Wish that was the problem.
So there's difference between making that and keeping it.
Okay.
So then which one do you want to work on? Keeping more or making more? Or both?
Both.
Okay, let's check it. All right. Okay, so the principle here is, what Russell's saying is that feeling comes first. So it's stuck in the body. And your body can't lie. So this is going to be fun. So let's do it. All right. Hold strong, don't let me push. Hold, good, all right. I want you to think about making, is it 2 million this next one? 3?
What's that?
What's the next one?
So we're doing 2 this year.
So you want to do 3?
No, I'd like to do
10?
5 million next year.
Okay. Yeah. So think about making 5 million, just think about it.
Okay.
Hold strong, hold. Okay, so even just the thought of it right there, his body is giving a little bit of weakness. So we could do different things like, I'm worthy of keeping 5 million. Hold. Way weaker. So I'm capable of making 5 million. Hold. It's actually super strong. Hold. So his body's like, I'm capable, but somewhere saying, oh, not worthy.
Isn't that fascinating? By the way, there's Tyler Watson. Give him a round of applause for doing that. He is the man. Is he in here right now? There's Tyler right there. He's the man. Anyway, give him all your money if you want to fix all your problems. He's amazing. Okay. So think about this, right? I'm on stage, I'm talking about 2 Comma Club Award, right? And I paint this picture of the 2 Comma Club Award. And all of a sudden, subconsciously, this elephant instantly is like, whoa, I'm not good enough for that. Before the monkeys even know. Also, the monkey's like, oh, I won a 2 Comma Club Award. But 7 seconds earlier, this was like, that's not gonna happen, no. And then your conscious is like, I want to win a 2 Comma Club Award, let's go. And you sign up for the program, you're so excited, and you get in there, and the elephant's like, you're not good enough for this. And it's pulling the air, but I signed up for the program, I want to do the thing. And it's this tear, this thing's happening, right? Because the monkeys are not in charge. As much as we consciously think we are not. The elephant is in charge of all of our decisions, okay? So we have to understand that. We have to understand the programming that's happening here, all right? Okay. In this elephant, for the visual, there's the elephant. If he pulls a leg up and like this and you click it, he turns into a brain. So there's the brain, your subconscious mind. Your subconscious, so it's not just your brain, it's like it's your entire body. It's everything is happening, right? And so subconscious is key. That's number 2 there, right? Now, the way the subconscious works, again, it speaks in stories, but it happens through repetition. It's the thing that happens, the pattern that happens over and over and over and over again, okay? You think about it, it's like all of us have routines, we have habits, we have these things that are happening. Napoleon Hill calls this hypnotic rhythm. We get into this hypnotic rhythm, okay? And hypnotic rhythm can be positive or negative, right? Sometimes we're in a hypnotic rhythm that's really negative, and it's like a really bad thing for us to get. Other times, like, success, positivity can be a positive hypnotic rhythm, right? It's how we're training our elephant, okay? You think about this, like, Our subconscious mind is fascinating. Like the very first time you got into a car and you started driving somewhere, you remember you drove in the car and it's like really hard to stay in the lines. You're like, this is hard to stay in the lines, right? And then you're like, I need to go somewhere. Like, where am I going to go? And consciously, okay, for me to get to the office, I got to go here, then I got to take a right, then I got to go. And you do it once, twice, 3 times. All of a sudden the pattern gets set, the hypnotic rhythm. Next time you jump in your car, all of a sudden you're at the office. You're like, I don't remember driving or getting here. My conscious monkeys were having an argument about if I should go out to eat today or not, if I should have donuts, like what I should do. And all of a sudden I'm here. The elephant just drove me. I didn't even know it was there. Right? This is what happens is we consciously decide on something, we do it a couple times till the pattern or the story repeats itself, becomes hypnotic rhythm in the elephant, and the elephant takes it from there. And what's cool about that is it's amazing. It saves us time, stress, energy, all sorts of stuff, but it can also be really, really negative because sometimes we let the wrong things train our elephant, train our subconscious, and those things can destroy our life for years and decades if we don't understand what's actually happening. Okay? It's kind of like this. This is a picture of ruts. Think about like this tractor keeps going through the dirt over and over and over again, and eventually the ruts get so deep that you can start the tractor, jump out, and it's going to drive in the ruts because it's so deep exactly where it needs to go. Right? Same thing's happening here, either for positive or for negative. Okay? How many of you guys are athletes in the room or at home? If you're an athlete, raise your hand. Okay, in athletics and sports, we know this already. We talk about it a lot. They call it muscle memory, right? When I was wrestling, we would drill the same move over and over and over and over again, every single day, same move over and over and over again, right? It's muscle memory. I'm getting this so ingrained into my subconscious mind. When I get in a match and I shake hands with somebody, I'm not thinking, okay, I'm gonna shoot a single leg, then I'm gonna do a double leg, then I'm gonna none of that happens. You shake hands, everything goes off, and your subconscious mind takes over. Okay? The matches that I lost is when I got out of my subconscious mind and went back consciously. In fact, Bone was with me at a wrestling tournament. I was wrestling this guy. This is 2 years ago. Do you remember this? I walk out, I'm killing the guy. It was just super easy. And I cut my eye open. They come off, cut my eye. They tape my whole head up. And it took us 4 or 5 minutes to get my bleeding to stop. I went back out there. And during that time, my subconscious was wrestling it perfect. I was beating 8 or 9 to nothing. I come back out, and for some reason, I got back in my head. And I was thinking, and I ended up losing the match to this guy who was not very good because these guys were running short. I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna do a single leg on this guy. And all of a sudden it shifted, right? That's what I always say. If you're in your head, you're dead. If you're trying to function from here, you're gonna lose. You function from here. This is how you win in sports and athletics and technically all things in life. Okay? The reason why is how much faster. The conscious mind is the conscious mind is so much slower than subconscious mind, right? 7 seconds before this anything has the idea, this already knew. So I'm wrestling someone, if I'm thinking, there's a single leg there, if I'm thinking it, I already lost it. By the time I go, it's gone. Instead, if I've done the thing over and over and over again, I'm moving in the second, my subconscious mind, 7 seconds before I consciously know that it's there, and feel it, boom, I take the leg, take the person down. Okay? That's how you get good at athletics or sports or entrepreneurship or anything. It's training your subconscious mind because the subconscious mind is the thing that actually wins. Okay? All right. So our friend Earl Nightingale's got some more cool stuff on subconscious mind. Because if you understand this, a lot of times we're like, well, I have all these negative habits. What am I supposed to do? Right? How do I break these things? How do I cultivate the right positive habits? How do I train my subconscious mind for success? And this is the key. Okay? So I'm going to show you guys the next clip from Earl Nightingale, also from The Strangest Secret, talking about our subconscious mind.
Now, how does it work? Why do we become what we think about? Well, I'll tell you how it works as far as we know. Now, to do this, I want to tell you about a situation that parallels the human mind. Suppose a farmer has some land, and it's good fertile land. Now, the land gives the farmer a choice. He may plant in that land whatever he chooses. The land doesn't care. It's up to the farmer to make the decision. Now remember, we're comparing the human mind with the land because the mind, like the land, doesn't care what you plant in it. It will return what you plant, but it doesn't care what you plant. Now let's say that the farmer has 2 seeds in his hand. One is a seed of corn. The other is nightshade, a deadly poison. He digs 2 little holes in the earth and he plants both seeds, one corn, the other nightshade. He covers up the holes, waters, and takes care of the land, and what will happen? Invariably, the land will return what's planted. As it's written in the Bible, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Now remember, the land doesn't care. It'll return poison in just as wonderful abundance as it will corn. So up come the 2 plants, one corn, one poison. Now the human mind is far more fertile, far more incredible and mysterious than the land, but it works the same way. It doesn't care what we plant. Success, failure. A concrete, worthwhile goal, or confusion. Misunderstanding, fear, anxiety, and so on. But what we plant, it must return to us. You see, the human mind is the last great unexplored continent on Earth. It contains riches beyond our wildest dreams. It will return anything we want to plant.
So that's how the subconscious mind works, right? It's planting these seeds.
And in one of Elsie Lincoln Benedict's books, she talks about this as well. People ask, like, well, if I have all these negative habits, like, what do I do? And the first thing you do is you stop watering it. You stop nourishing it, right? If you have a bad habit, you just got to stop feeding it, right? We keep feeding the same habits over and over and over again. We got to stop feeding it and then start creating the hypnotic rhythm, creating the habits that are positive, that are successful, okay? You have to understand, like, I believe, I've talked to some of my friends about this, but I believe that, like, when all said and done, like who we are as a person, like who do we become? We're always talking about, like, I'm on this journey to become something. Who we become is literally like the record of our subconscious mind. This is who we become. By the time we die, like all the habits, all the patterns, all the things, like your subconscious mind is who you actually are when all said and done. And so for us, the lifelong journey is to be the ones who are training this thing. This is how we become something different. We consciously decide what we want, and then we train this. And over time, if we train it correctly, that's how you become something different, how you become someone more. Okay? And so you look at this, like, what is our job? Our job consciously is to stand guard of our mind. Because if you're not careful, things are going to bypass it, right? We got the monkeys here with their spears blocking things. Because you have to be careful what you allow into your mind. Because if you listen to really, really bad music, you listen over and over again, that builds these hypnotic rhythms. You're watching bad movies, builds hypnotic rhythm. You're following people who aren't positive, like, it builds this hypnotic rhythm. It's hard to get rid of those things. So we have to consciously stand as a guard in front of this gate and protect ourselves. What are we going to allow into our subconscious mind? Like, oh, this doesn't affect me. Playing bad video games doesn't affect me. Watching bad movies doesn't affect me. It affects all of us. It's literally building these hypnotic rhythms over and over and over again, and it's becoming who we actually are. Okay? So the monkeys stand as sentinels protecting it. Okay? That's the big key. All right. Next thing here. So we have our conscious mind with the monkeys, our subconscious, which is the elephant. And there's one more part of the mind that actually matters to me, and I'm trying to be successful in anything. Okay? And the third one here is the instinctive mind, or fear. Okay? And my friend the lizard here is going to demonstrate fear for us. So this is fear. Now, fear is interesting because this part of your brain, if you study the whole science of it, like, it's really fascinating because fear doesn't tell you what just happened in a situation, right? It just tells you how to feel about it, okay? And fear's job is to protect you. So it's actually like a really good thing. It's something that's built from God into our bodies, into our minds to protect us. But the problem is that most of us don't actually need to be protected all the time. Maybe back thousands of years ago when there were like mammoths chasing you in lions, like you needed fear to like freak you out so you could run. But nowadays, like, we live comfortable. Like, for the most part, this is one of the things that's destroying most of our lives because it's trying to protect us, okay? Now, what's interesting, if you look at this, fear, they say when a baby's born, there's only two fears it has, right? You guys know what they are? One is the fear of loud noises, I think that's right here, and the other is fear of falling, right? Those are the two fears that you were born with, okay? Only two fears. No other fears you're born with. And then what happens is over time, you learn all the other fears, okay? Your 2-year-old kid, you're walking around and your mom sees a spider and she freaks out. Oh, there's a spider. All of a sudden your body's like, oh, okay, spiders are, like, if we see a spider, we should freak out, right? And all of a sudden, like, it learned to fear spiders. And then it learned to fear of whatever else. And then it starts learning all these other fears, okay? And the fear of the body, and the goal of the lizard is to protect you from physical harm, right? So we start learning these things, okay? So those are all of the different fears we have of our body, okay? Now the second side, though, this is the one that's really tricky. This is one that we have to deal with as entrepreneurs, also as people who are trying to persuade and influence other people, is understanding the fears of the ego. This is the one that's harder for most people, okay? And Tony Robbins says, you look at all the fears people have, it boils down to two things. Number one is that you're not enough. And number two, if you're not enough, then you're not going to be loved. These are the fears of the ego. These fears are not real. Okay, these fears are fantasy, but this lizard here is trying to protect you from everything. Like, what if I go try that diet and I fail? Then I'm not going to be enough. If I'm not enough, I'm not going to be loved. So it's trying to protect you. Like, don't do that. Don't try that thing. What if I want to go try to make some money? What if you fail? Well, if you fail, you're not good enough, and if you're not good enough, you're not going to be loved, right? And so it's trying to protect you from everything because it does not want your ego to have to go through that kind of pain, right? And your customers the same way, by the way. Like, when you're trying to make a presentation to them, they're freaking out. All this fear is happening because they are afraid they're not going to be enough if they fail at the thing, and if they're not going to be enough, they're not going to be loved, okay? And so it all ties down to status, people's fear of losing their status. Okay? Now, fear is also interesting. We talked about how the monkeys, they speak in questions. The subconscious mind, the elephant, speaks in stories. And fear speaks in absolutes. Okay? You know it's fear because it's not going to be asking you a question. It's going to be telling you something. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're too old. You're too young. You're not smart enough for that. There's no way you're going to be able to do that. Have you guys watched Star Wars? Only Siths deal in absolutes. It's the same thing. Fear only deals with absolutes. It's the thing chirping in the back of your mind, telling you you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not worthy. So if you hear something coming, that's something telling you, it is not your conscious mind, it's not your subconscious mind. It's literally fear just trying to protect you. It's not real. Okay? So we have to learn to turn fear off. And we start looking at these conversations, we start realizing all these voices in our head that are happening all the time. If we look at that, this is what it all comes down to, right? Our conscious mind speaks in questions, subconscious mind speaks in stories, and our instinctive mind speaks in absolutes. Okay? Now, our job for ourselves, for us to be successful in anything in life is very, very simple, okay? Our job is, number one, is to calm the lizard. Dude, it's gonna be okay. You just relax. I know it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be okay. Calm the lizard, okay? Number two, you gotta guide the elephant. This is how you have success. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. We're gonna build hypnotic rhythms. We're gonna guide the elephant. And that way, the monkeys, our conscious mind, the thing we were choosing, have the ability to go where they wanna go, okay? That's it. That's how you have success in life, okay? Are the monkeys and elephants, does that help a little bit? Okay? All right, what do you guys think about the metaphor of our mind? If you love that, post in the comments. Let me know about the monkeys, the elephants, and all the things, the lizards. I want to make sure you guys understood that. This is the key, okay? This is the key to everything we're talking about today. First off, for you to be successful with this. Number two, for you to be able to persuade and influence the people you've been called to serve, okay? Now, again, I'm showing you this for two different reasons. Number one was to help you guys to start understanding yourselves better. And then number two is because in the session after lunch called Subconscious Selling, I'm showing you like when you are actually speaking to somebody, okay, what you're doing is you are speaking consciously, like we're having a conscious conversation right now, right? But what's really happening, as you'll learn after lunch, is that I'm telling stories in a way to rewrite the false belief patterns of their subconscious mind, and then I'm telling that lizard to calm down and everything's gonna be okay. That's the big secret of selling, okay? And again, we're gonna have so much fun going deep into this, but I wanted to, first off, share this metaphor for yourself to understand how your brain works, so now you know how to help influence other people, okay? Now, I wanted to share a couple more paradigm shifts in this session that I think will be helpful for you. And these ones are all gonna be talking more about the fear side of things, right? This lizard, how do we turn the lizard off for you guys so you can focus on being successful? So next paradigm shift I want you to understand is that resistance is the negative force in the world that keeps you from fulfilling your dreams. How many of you guys have been struggling? Like you have a dream, you have a goal, you have a vision, you've been trying, but you just can't quite get it. Like no matter how hard you try, it's like I keep getting stuck, keep getting stuck, keep getting stuck, right? One of my favorite books is a book called The War of Art by Mr. Stephen Pressfield. And in Stephen Pressfield's book, he shares this quote that I think is so cool. He says, there's a secret that real writers know that wannabe writers don't know. And it's this, it's not the writing part that's hard. Okay, what's hard is sitting down to write. What keeps us from sitting down is called resistance. Now, you could obviously take writing and plug in anything else, right? Talk about the gym, right? There's a secret that real fitness people know that wannabe fitness people don't know. The secret's not lifting the weights. The secret is actually going to the gym, right? And the thing that keeps us from going to the gym is resistance, right? Think about anything in your life that you've been struggling with, right? The reason why is this resistance keeps you from having success, right? It's really interesting. In the book, Pressfield talks about what he calls the unlived life. And he says what the unlived life is an athlete who doesn't compete. It's a writer who doesn't write. It's a painter who doesn't paint. It's an entrepreneur who hasn't even started their own business yet, right? That's one of the biggest things. So this resistance is always keeping us from being successful. I remember when I first read this book, I was like, how often is resistance like affecting me? I didn't even know. So I remember sitting down next to my bed, I went to bed at night, I made like a time sheet. I'm like, I'm gonna write down, every time resistance hits me, I'm gonna write down the time and what happened, okay? So set my alarm, wake in the morning, 4:50, my alarm goes off, boom, I open my eyes, and I was like, snooze button. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, there was resistance. It was like, just go back to bed. You'll be fine. You'll get up in 10 minutes from now. You'll get up in an hour from now. So I wrote over like 4:50 a.m. Resistance made me want to like put the snooze alarm, right? A few minutes later, it's like, hey, I gotta get up and go work out. It's like, I don't want to work out. I'm like, oh, resistance hit me again. Okay, I need to go right. Resistance hit me. And like, by the time I was like, by 7 o'clock in the morning, I had like 30 times the resistance had stopped me from being successful, right? So resistance hits us over and over and over again, right? Now, I had a chance to actually interview Stephen Pressfield, which was one of the coolest things in my life. Like, anyway, one of my big heroes. And I remember I asked him, I said, like, a lot of times in my life, I'll have a big, like, resistance seems so big that in my mind, I'm like, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe I shouldn't try this thing. How many of you have ever felt that before? Like, this seems way too hard. I shouldn't even try this, right? I felt that before. In fact, there's things I've done that I probably should have done, but I didn't do because I'm like, the resistance is so heavy, the burden seems so hard, it's not worth doing. And so I asked him, like, is there ever a time when like resistance is so big you should just walk away from it, right? I want to know. And in the interview, this is what he told me. It was like one of the most powerful things I want to share with you guys right now. So check this out.
Imagine a tree in the middle of a sunny meadow. The minute the tree appears, a shadow appears. And the shadow is equal to the tree, right? If it's a big tree, it's a big shadow. So in the terms of resistance, the tree is the dream that you have, the book you want to write, the venture you want to do, whatever. And resistance is the shadow. So there would not, what I want to say is resistance always comes second. There would be no resistance if there wasn't a dream, if there wasn't a calling that was inside you. So the good news of that is when you're feeling big resistance, that big shadow, that shows that there's a big tree there or something. There's a big dreams, because resistance always comes like Newton's third law of motion, equal and opposite reaction. It's a reaction to an aspiration, to a book you want to write or a movie you want, whatever it is. So don't be freaked out, I would say to anybody, by that dark cloud. That dark shadow is an indication that the dream is for real and it's big.
Okay, the reason I want to show you is that, think about that. Like, you guys join this event, you're here for the next 3 days, and I promise you, as I go through this, sometimes it's gonna feel big, right? And like, oh, that's not even worth doing. The resistance seems too heavy. But what he says, like, the bigger the dream, the bigger the vision, the bigger the calling, the bigger the shadow, the more resistance is gonna happen. And I wanna prepare you for that, okay? Because some of you guys are now, you're here, you're on fire, it's exciting, and tonight you're gonna feel a little overwhelmed, and you're like, I'm not gonna go back tomorrow, right? Or by maybe day 2, by day 3, you're like, oh, it seems too heavy. Like, I want you to understand, like, the more resistance you're feeling means the bigger the calling is. Okay, there's a reason why you came here. It wasn't just coincidence, right? It wasn't a coincidence you guys showed up today and decided to be part of this. You felt the calling, you felt something tugging you to be here, am I right? And so the goal right now for you guys to understand, like, this resistance is big. This is fear. Like, the fear coming, again, this is the lizard. It's like, dude, that's gonna be too hard. It's too much work. Don't do it. Like, it's in the back of your head, like, we gotta crush this, right? Because fear is resistance. It's just this thing in the back of your head, don't wake up. Like, oh, you're too tired, just snooze a little longer. Oh, you're not gonna work out. You worked out yesterday. Just take the day off. Oh, I know you need to go write, but like, you're tired. Like, don't write today, right? It's telling you, it's trying to get you to stop. And I guarantee you, over this event, this resistance can hit you over and over and over again. Like I did with my time test, right? By 7 a.m., it was like 50 times it hit me. It's gonna keep hitting you. So we have to come back to fear and turn it off. Say, fear, dude, it's gonna be fine. I'm doing this process. You gotta be able to come okay with that, right? Because fear is resistance. Now, the goal of resistance, right? One thing, obviously, we know that this is trying to protect us. We talked about that during the other presentation, right? The fear is trying to protect us, but the reality is the goal of resistance is to get you to drift, okay? It doesn't want you to be successful. Now, what is drifting? I first heard the word drifting when I was reading this book from Mr. Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil, one of my favorite books in the entire world. And I have two, can I show off my collection? I collect old books. I'm kind of a nerd. And one of my favorite things in my, actually I have 2 things here, 2 of my favorite things inside of my library. The first one over here, this is actually, if you guys know Napoleon Hill, he wrote Think and Grow Rich. This is actually Napoleon Hill's actual typewriter, which is insane. He probably wrote Think and Grow Rich, The Laws of Success, and all these books on this typewriter. So the Napoleon Hill Foundation, Don Green, actually gave this to me as a gift, which is so cool. So this is cool, but then over here was something else cool. This is actually the manuscript for Outwitting the Devil. Oh, so I could not show you guys this, right? If you open up, it's actually signed by his wife, Annie Lou Hill. But this is the actual, be careful, I don't know if you can see it. This is the actual, like, from his typewriter, him writing the first draft of Outwitting the Devil, which again is one of my favorite books of all time. If you haven't read it yet, I recommend reading it, but I would actually recommend listening to it. The audiobook version is really cool because basically it's Napoleon Hill and the devil having this conversation. They're fighting back and forth and back and forth. And Napoleon Hill has the chance to ask the devil, like, why are you, like, what do you do to keep people from being successful? What does that look like? Okay. And again, it's fun because in the audiobook, it's like the devil is on trial, and Napoleon's like the lawyers that are going back and forth, and he has to tell them the truth, and they're fighting, and there's 2 different voices, and they're fighting. It's amazing. So if you haven't yet listened to the audiobook, it's one of the big takeaways from the event. Make sure you listen to it. It's awesome. And so this is what he said inside the book. He said, tell me all the tricks by which you enter and control their minds. That's what Napoleon Hill is asking the devil. And the devil comes back and says, my greatest weapon over human beings is I establish the habit of drifting. Ooh, what is drifting? He says, the drifter is one who accepts whatever life throws his way and doesn't know what he wants from life and spends all his time getting just that. Ooh, crazy, right? So we're drifting. I always think about this, like, there's people that are driven and then there's drifters, right? Inside of the book, he talks about this concept called hypnotic rhythm. He says the people who are drifting, they get this hypnotic rhythm, are just kind of like, you're just stuck in this rut that keeps going over and over and over again, right? And we talked about sort of the subconscious mind, right? This elephant, we get in this hypnotic rhythm, we're just stuck into something, right? And so every single one of us, we have options every day. We have faith and fear. These 2 choices all of us have 100 times a day. Faith or fear, faith or fear. Fear is like the alarm clock going off, like, I don't want to get up. Oh, I don't want to go to the gym. Oh, I don't want to write. Oh, I don't want to work my presentation. Oh, I don't want to sell something. Fear, right? We have faith of like, this might be good for me. Maybe I should do it. And every day we have this conscious choice, I don't know, 100, 1,000, how many times? Faith, fear, faith, fear, faith, fear, right? And what Napoleon Hill says in Outwitting the Devil, he said that 98% of the human population chooses fear. They become drifters, right? They're drifting. And they're in this hypnotic rhythm where they're just drifting and life's not changing. And only 2% are people who are driven, who are moving forward. Okay? And so I was drawing this out. I was like, if you look at this, on the fear side, it's us not doing the work we need to do, right? It's us living the unlived life, the author not writing the book, the entrepreneur not starting a business, right? The painter not painting. Like, instead, we just drift, we go Netflix and chill, we hang out, and we're there with the lizard. The lizard's like, cool, you're safe, we're watching Netflix, we're happy. okay? And that's 98% of the population. The majority of people around you are drifting every single day, right? They choose fear over faith over and over and over again, okay? Now, I have a friend, and he passed away a little while ago, but he had this tattoo, Dave Hall is his name. He had this tattoo on his arm. It's so cool. He says, a ship in a harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for, right? For all of us, like sitting and watching Netflix is safe, but that's not what you were built for. You're built for something more, right? You were built to be driven, to change, to consciously choose something great and to pursue it with all your heart, mind, and soul, okay? That's what I believe. Okay, so there's two types of people. There's the 98% who are drifters, who listen to fear, who succumb to that, who get in this hypnotic rhythm, in these patterns of life where they can't improve their life, most of the people. And there's people, the 2% like me and you, who are driven, right? And yes, we still get hypnotic rhythm, but it's positive things are moving us towards our goal consistently. And so to be able to do that, we have to turn off fear and focus on what we consciously want, moving forward, becoming one of the driven, okay? All right. Paradigm shift number 3, and this is the last one before we break for the first workshop. I want you to understand that you are the hero of the story. Now, I'm telling you this because if you look at society, it's been subconsciously put into our brains that starting businesses, making money is evil, right? You think about this, like every single, if you look at like every movie growing up, like who's always the bad guy in the movies? It's always the rich billionaire, right? It's always the bad guy. So we get this subconsciously put in our minds over and over and over again. And then we come to this world like trying to figure out how to make money, and like that seems great, but our elephant's like, nope, sorry, all the evil people are billionaires. All the evil people are the ones that make money, right? We have this subconscious belief. I want to shift that for you guys right now. I want you to understand that you are literally the heroes of the story. Okay, you, the entrepreneurs, those who are trying to change the world, the 2% who are driven, okay, you're the heroes of the story. This is a quote from my friend Alex Sharfman when he's talking about entrepreneurs. In fact, Alex wrote a whole book called Entrepreneur Personality Type. His whole work is talking to entrepreneurs and helping them to understand like who they are and what their callings are. And this is one of my favorite quotes. He says, we are the small percentage of the population that goes into the future, imagines a new reality, and comes back to the present and insists it becomes real. That's what you do that's different than everybody else. Drifters don't do that. They're not looking at the future and trying to figure out how do I make that real today, right? It's you, it's the entrepreneurs, it's the driven people. Like those are the ones who are changing things, okay? Another one of my favorite quotes from Ryan Moran. Ryan Moran said, that an entrepreneur is someone who took personal responsibility for a problem that wasn't their own. What does the majority of the world do? They don't take problems, like they don't take any problems, right? They're drifting, they're walking away, like, no, like that's his problem, that's his problem. They're always trying to blame it on somebody else, right? We're the driven, the 2%, the crazy people. We step out and we actually say, look, there's a problem that is not my own, but I'm gonna figure out how to solve that thing, right? And we start a business because of it, trying to help and change people's lives. Like that's why you guys are different. You are the heroes of the story. When you understand that and you embrace it, it'll change everything for you, okay? You are the driven. You are the prime movers, those who act. Okay, now you probably saw under the shirt, I have a shirt right now that says Prime Mover. And if you've been in my community, you know I have a lot of different identities I've given you, right? I've given Moshe as the identity of a funnel hacker. How many of my funnel hackers out there? If you're one of my funnel hackers, type in funnel hackers, okay? That is an identity. You have an identity of being someone who's driven, okay? And this is another identity I'm gonna give you today called a Prime Mover, okay? And in fact, I'm gonna take my jacket off so you can see the actual shirt. If you see here on the shirt, there's a picture of, here it is right here, of Atlas holding the weight of the world on his shoulders. Now, I love this analogy of Atlas holding weight on his shoulders because I feel like that is what we do as the Prime Mover Society. How many of you guys feel like you're holding the weight of the world on your shoulders? For you, for your family, for your business, like you're holding everything, right? It's heavy, okay? Now, if you've ever read the book Atlas Shrugged, in fact, I'll pull up this thing, and the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, she talks about this concept, saying the producers of the world, the entrepreneurs are holding the weight of the world on their shoulders. What would happen if society got so bad, if things got so hard for the producers that they decided to stand up and just walk away, right? What would happen? And so I actually, I have an event center I'm building right now, and I had these 3 statues commissioned to me to kind of illustrate that. So the first one's Atlas holding the weight of the world on his shoulders, second is him standing and shrugging, and the third is him walking away from it. Okay? Now, if you look at what my calling is in this whole society, my calling is to serve you guys, the Prime Movers Society, the entrepreneurs who are trying to change the world. Everything we do is to help you to be able to make this heavy burden seem not so heavy. Okay? That's what we're doing. So this t-shirt here talks about being a prime mover. It's just something I learned originally from Ayn Rand. She talked about the prime movers are the entrepreneurs, right? They're the people that are changing the world. But what's crazy is like, I thought she invented that word, but she didn't. In fact, I talked about it yesterday during the pre-session. She actually got it from Aristotle. And Aristotle, in one of his books, he talked about how the prime mover, he said that God is the prime mover, right? God's the prime mover, and he said he doesn't go and chase people to try to do things. Prime movers, they set a standard and rise people up to them, okay? That's what you do. That's what I do as entrepreneurs. Like, we are prime movers. We set a standard and we draw people towards us. That's what we're trying to do here. We're not out chasing people, knocking on doors, trying to close people. Like, we're setting a standard and drawing people towards us. That's what's happening inside of the one-to-many presentations and the funnels. Everything we're going to be talking about all comes back to that concept of being a prime mover. But this is an identity I want you to have. In fact, on the back of the shirt, you probably can't see it, but I have a quote from Ayn Rand. I want to read it to you guys because I want this to become, I want this to be part of your identity as well. So I'm gonna pull up the slide there so you can read along with me as we go through it. But this is what it says. It says, throughout the centuries, there were men who took steps first down new roads, armed with nothing but their own vision. Their goals differed, but they all had this thing in common, that the step was first, the road was new, the vision unborrowed. The great creators, the thinkers, the artists, the scientists, the inventors, they stood alone against the men of their time. Every great new thought was opposed. Every great new invention was denounced. But the men of unborrowed vision went ahead. They fought, they suffered, and they paid, but they won. Okay? That's what this is all about, you guys. I want to give you guys the tools to be able to hold the weight of the world on your shoulders so you can do this, right? You all have your own visions, your own things. You're the first ones to do these things, right? If we can give you the tools and the training and everything you need to be successful, you can hold the weight of the world on your shoulders and it won't seem as heavy. That's our goal with everything we're doing here inside of ClickFunnels, inside the Selling Online event, and as a prime mover. And so, again, that's what a prime mover is. A lot of you guys have seen me wear this shirt more and more often, and that's why I just love this identity of me as a prime mover, setting a standard and drawing people towards me. All right, now I want to introduce you to a special guest speaker who, someone who's going to be one of, kind of co-teaching over the next 3 days with me. She's someone who, I met her originally at a Funnel Hacking Live event. She came to watch her sister-in-law actually speak at the event, and then she caught on fire. And from there, she developed a really cool system to help people who may want to speak, but they're nervous that they don't speak like Russell Brunson or like Tony Robbins, like how to find their own authentic self. It's called charisma hacking. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about it over the next couple of days. But as we were preparing this event, I actually brought her here to Boise to kind of tag team a couple concepts with me that I thought she could take what I have and like really go like 2 or 3 levels deeper to help you guys understand and like really perfect these things. She's one of my favorite speakers, one of the coolest people I've ever met. Her energy is even higher than mine. So if you guys like need some good energy to keep you guys excited over the next couple of days, she's going to be helping you guys a lot as well. And I'm excited. So she's going to come right now for 4 or 5 minutes to walk you through a really cool concept to help you be more successful, to help you when you start feeling a little nervous or overwhelmed over the next couple of days, to help free you from that so you can focus on creating your one-to-many presentation, getting inside a sales funnel, driving traffic to it, and doing all the fun we want to do. So with that said, if you guys can help me put our hands together for McCall Jones.
Yay!
Hey. Yep, there you go. Have some fun.
Thank you so much. Hello, my friends. Oh my goodness, it is so nice to meet you. Like Russell said, my name is McCall Jones. I am the co-founder of a company called Charisma Hacking, where I have helped thousands of entrepreneurs be more likable and more authentic and more persuasive, both on video and on stages. Now, you're going to learn more about me later today, but throughout today, there's going to be a couple presentations where Russell is completely blowing your mind, where he is giving you the perfect and genius way to sell yourself online. During these sessions, you may be thinking to yourself, Russell's ideas and plans and tactics and strategies are amazing. Maybe this will work for some people, but yikes, I don't know if it's gonna work for me. You may start thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm not sure that I can do this. I know that this works, but I don't know if this works. When you start to feel that way, I am going to magically pop on your screen. And when I do, I promise you that we are going to switch your thinking. We're going to switch your thinking from, okay, Russell's strategy is amazing. This is too hard for me to do. We're going to switch it from that to Russell's strategy is amazing, but am I even more amazing? I want you guys to write in the chat, am I amazing? Am I amazing? You guys are crushing it. I want you to think of me as your I can do hard things fairy godmother. Now I'm going to pass it back to Russell in about 2 minutes. But first, when those feelings start to happen, when you start to doubt, when it starts to feel hard, I want to tell you that those feelings, they're actually not bad. Those feelings are your unfair advantage. Because for the next 3 days, we are going to start building something called a moat. Now, what a moat is it's a competitive advantage, right? It's the thing that separates and protects you from your competitors. The same way that a moat protects a castle. Guys, if this was easy, everyone would do it. And if everyone did it, it would literally be impossible for you to stand out. And we don't want that, right? Your competitors would come in and they would scoop up all of your potential clients. I promise you, you do not want this to be easy. I want you guys to write in the chat, I don't want it to be easy. I don't want it to be easy. So if by the end of this challenge, you are thinking to yourself, wow, this isn't an easy fix. If you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, this feels like so much work just to get a pitch right, guess what? That means that this week has been a success. That actually means that you are doing it right. I promise you, you want this to be hard. I want you guys to write in the chat, I want this to be hard. And I want you to mean it. I want you to mean it. You actually want this to be hard because when other people quit, you won't and you'll win. You want this to be a lot. You want this to be hardcore. You actually want this to be a little overwhelming. Now, when you feel overwhelmed, I want to remind you that is not the time to step on the brakes. That is the time to step on the gas because it actually means that this training is working. It means that what we're doing here is actually going to help you win. I want you guys to write in the chat again, I want this to be hard. Every single time something hard happens over the next 3 days, I want you to think, oh, wait. I want this to be hard. I want this to be difficult. Yeah, I want you guys to tell me in the chat, I'm all in. Yeah, I'm all in. I want this to be hard. Now, like I said, you're going to be seeing a lot of me over the next 3 days, but I wanted you guys to just have this little mind shift. Remember, every single time something's hard, I want this to be hard. Fear, lizard, lizard. I want this to be hard. Yeah, I can't wait to see you soon. I'm going to pass it back over to Russell. Thank you so much.
Thank you, McCall. You're the best.
There you go.
Very cool. All right, you guys, it's time for McCall. You're going to love her every single, throughout the session, she's going to be coming in and just blowing your guys' mind. It's going to be really cool. It's going to help you guys to take these things we're talking about and make them even more simple and so you can implement them. It's going to be awesome. So that was session number 1, subconscious success. Have you guys had at least 1 or 2 or 10 ahas from today so far? If you have, that's exciting. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring back up Chris Cameron. Chris is going to take you guys through a really cool process to help take these ahas out of your mind and to solidify them so you can start using them and they can start being successful into your life. So with that said, let's put our hands back together for Chris Cameron.
All right, let's keep this momentum going. Now, it's funny. I was talking to somebody in our community. Her name's Eileen Wilder, and she used this this phrase called temporary suspension of belief. Okay, and here's what happens: you listen, you have all these aha moments, and you have all this time where you're like, "I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that." But then a lot of times it doesn't happen. That's why we have strategically placed within this opportunities for you to get down some of these thoughts and to start creating like action plans throughout. So this is not a time to take a break. This is extremely important and one of those moments where you're going to show up for you to where we take this vision that you have in your brain and start taking action on it. So with that, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to first a workshop. Remember, we've listened, we've learned. Now we're going to work. So the first part of this, we're going to take 5 minutes and we're going to have you actually go and write this down. And don't just write down the first thing that comes to your brain. I want you to think deeper and deeper if you need to. What is the goal that you are consciously choosing? And then what is the current story you have about that goal? And what is the fear that is holding you back? So we're going to take, first, we're going to take 5 minutes for you to actually get this down. And I'm telling you, it probably isn't going to be the first thing that you write down. So maybe a couple iterations of this, but take time to ask, is that really it, or is there something deeper? And then after, we'll explain how you're going to share this with other people. But for now, focus on the workshop. This is quietly working by yourself. So jump in and do not skip out on this time. 5 minutes for the workshop starting now.